What's up, San Diego?
San Diego, turn it up. From the dugout to the sidelines, from the front office to the fan in the stands, this is where San Diego sports comes to be heard.
College athletics is the gift that keeps on giving. This is why I love this stuff.
He's not just talking about the game, he's driving the conversation, breaking it down, calling it out, and saying what everyone else won't.
They start licking their chops, man, when they hear like, oh, look at all these guys the Padres could potentially trade.
This is the voice San Diego Sports trusts on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
We're your favorite show.
This is the Braden Surprenant Show.
Think about the children, the family show.
Now, here's Braden Surprenant.
What's up, San Diego? And a happy Tuesday to everybody out there in America's finest city. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. This is the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. We're live and local each every day from 10 to 2, leading you into Gwen and Chris. And then Padres baseball is back today. Don't everybody get so excited at once. 3:30 today for first pitch. I know it's been a tough sled for the Padres, losing 6 of the last 7 games. Having a tough weekend in Washington. Tough month of May, where they finished 2 games under 500 in the month of May. But guess what? It's a new month. We start the new month today. It's the month of June. Padres are in second place right now. They're 5 games back out of first place behind the Dodgers. And, you know, I was sitting there going, last night, I was thinking to myself, Frank, I remember we had some people in the YouTube chat talking about how great the Diamondbacks are. And I know they won yesterday. And I saw they won yesterday over the Dodgers, which, you know, it's going to happen every once in a while. And I go, why did anybody been bragging about the Diamondbacks passing the Padres over the weekend? I was like, why is this? And then I looked at the weekend scores because I totally, you know, it wasn't my week to watch the Diamondbacks over the weekend. They got their ass swept by the Mariners. And then all of a sudden, put some cold water on the whole, like, I better watch out for the Diamondbacks. Well, we'll see. I mean, they did beat the Dodgers last night, but Padres have a half-game lead on Arizona in second place. They're 5 games behind the Dodgers in first place. They need to get going here in the month of June. And we talked a lot about the month of May and how it didn't work out for the Padres, and yet here we are. Got to flush it, be ready for the month of June, and that starts with a tough series against the Philadelphia Phillies. Padres got the Phillies for 3 games at Citizens Bank Park. That's never a fun place to play for the Padres, ever. The Padres have not done well against Philadelphia. It just seems like ever. I mean, I can't remember a time where they have actually done well against the Phillies, and on top of that, done well in Philadelphia. So 3:40 start time today with the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show getting underway at 2:40. That will be the next 2 days. Tuesday and Wednesday, and then we're off Thursday because the Padres will start at 10:05 a.m. on Thursday, and then they welcome in the New York Metropolitans on the 5th, 6th, and 7th.
Yay.
Yeah. Get excited, Frank.
Yay.
At least we only have 1 day of us being on the air before they play the Mets because they're going to be over the weekend. And then I'm not here on Monday, so you and Scraby can have a great time talking about the Mets on Monday. Have fun with that.
Anytime talking about the Mets is not a great time.
Is that cruel and unusual punishment?
Yes.
Okay. Padres will have the Mets and the Reds on a homestand. Then they'll go back to the D.C. area. They'll go to Baltimore. By the way, I know we've talked about the schedule a lot with the Padres, and we'll, you know, when they put the new schedule out in July, late July, early August, like they usually do for the next season, and maybe we'll talk about this. I don't know how I missed this. Every time we've talked about the schedule, why would they make the Padres go to D.C. and Philly, fly back to the West Coast, and then fly back out to Baltimore? Why didn't they just have them play back-to-back series? Washington and then Baltimore. They're right there. That doesn't make any sense. You know what? The schedule, once they got rid of that old married couple that was like putting the Major League Baseball schedule together, there's been some weird things with the schedule. So they got to go to the East Coast. They come back for 6 games. They got a day off Thursday of next week. And then they go to Baltimore, St. Louis, and Texas. And then they got to come back to play Atlanta and the Dodgers. That's going to be tough. And then they go to Chicago to take on the Cubs before before going up to Chavez Ravine and playing the Dodgers for the 4th of July holiday. I'm telling you, this is a very important stretch for the Padres. I know all of these stretches are important, but starting today against Philadelphia, I mean, you got the Phillies. I mean, you got a little bit of a break with the Mets and the Reds. The Reds haven't been playing that great of baseball, but they're still in a division in the National League Central. It's done very well. Baltimore is not that tough, but then you got to go to St. Louis. Texas has been okay. And then you finish up the month of June with Atlanta, the Dodgers, the Cubs, the Dodgers, the Diamondbacks for 4, and the Blue Jays before you send maybe a couple of All-Stars to Philadelphia for the All-Star game. This is probably the most difficult stretch of the entire season. June to the All-Star break. This is the stretch that we have to pay a close attention to here. Because they have to they have to kind of tread water. I said it yesterday, and I'll continue to say it. I know I said it for the month of May. It didn't work out. But if the Padres go 500 in June, they will be exactly where they were entering July last year in 2025. And I didn't really talk more about 2024, where the Padres for their first 58 games were 30-28. So Padres got to find a way to navigate that schedule coming up. Philly, New York, Cincinnati, Baltimore, St. Louis, Texas, where they can get up to a 500 month in June. I honestly don't even think it's that difficult. But when you look at the schedule, like, to me, Padres got to win 1 in Philly, right, Frank? Like, if you want to, I know we don't want to do math on the air. Padres got to win 1 in Philly. I don't think they're going to be able to take 2 out of 3. If they do, it's amazing. They definitely are not going to sweep Philadelphia. If they take 2 out of 3, it's bonus, but they got to win 1 in Philly. That puts them at 1-2. I think they should take 2 out of 3 from the Mets. That would put them back at 500 for the month. Take 2 out of 3 against Cincinnati. Puts them 1 game up in the month of June. And then for like the Baltimore, St. Louis, Texas, you got to win. You got to try to win one of those series. So if they lose 2 of them, which to me would be St. Louis and maybe Texas. Actually, they've kind of owned Texas the last couple of years. If they lose the Baltimore, I can't see them losing to Baltimore. But let's say the Padres take 2 out of 3 from Baltimore. They're +2. They lose 2 out of 3 to St. Louis. They go down to +1. Beat the Rangers 2 out of 3. Back to +2. And then the Braves and the Dodgers, I mean, let's just say because they have better records that they lose both those series. That puts you back to even. And then you got 2 games against Chicago at the end of the month where you got to split and you go 500. That's kind of how I see it. I mean, you have to try to win those series again. First of all, you have to win both series against the Mets and the Reds. You're going to have to win a series against Baltimore, win a series against Texas, and then if you get any series win out of Atlanta or the Dodgers or the Cardinals, you're playing with house money for the month of June. That's how I kind of see it. Frank, looking at this schedule for the first month, or this from today through the end of June, this is a very important. This is the toughest test the Padres will have all year.
Yeah, we said that at the beginning of last month that this was going to be the most difficult stretch, and after the All-Star break is when the schedule significantly lightens up. And to your point about this series, you have your best chance to win tonight. Once again, you're facing Aaron Nola. You got Randy Vasquez on the mound. And then Wednesday is Walker Buehler versus Christopher Sanchez. And Thursday, presuming, because the Padres haven't announced their starter for Thursday, it's presumed to be Lucas Giolito because that would be his spot, versus Zach Wheeler. Nola's got a 5.72 ERA, Sanchez a 1.47, and Wheeler's a 2.27. So if you're going to steal one of these games in Philadelphia, it's going to have to be tonight.
Yeah, they have to win tonight. I know there's no such thing as a must win in June, but I tell you what, it'd be a lot better. I think it'd be a lot better for the fans if the Padres won tonight. I think it'd put them in a better spot too if they won tonight. The they got, like we mentioned, they got Philadelphia for these next couple of days. And Philly, they came back down to earth against the Dodgers over the weekend. They're just one game above 500. I don't know what it is with Philadelphia, but if the Padres can win two, that would be great against the Phillies. I just don't see it happening. And then after that, they got the Mets, who continue to play, bad baseball. But it's not as bad as it was at the beginning of the season, right?
No, they had a winning record in May.
Okay, so they're starting to turn it around a little bit. It's not like you're going to play the Angels. And then after that, they got Cincinnati's in last place, but they're one game above 500, just like Philly is. And then from there, you go back and you play Baltimore. Baltimore just swept the Rays not too long over the weekend. They're 7-3 in their last 10. They've won 2 in a row. They're starting to heat up a little bit, and they're 19-15 at home this year. So, they're 4 games under 500, but they're starting to play a lot better baseball. You move on to St. Louis, who I think has come down to earth a little bit, but they still have a winning record, 31-27. They have won 3 of their last 10. So obviously they're a little bit more on the struggling side. After that, you got Texas. Texas is kind of a wild card to me because Texas could get no hit by the Houston Astros and then bludgeon them for 15 runs like the next day. So I don't know what to say about Texas. I think they're kind of a wild card. They're 2 games under 500. They've won 4 straight. And then after you play Texas, you get to welcome in the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Atlanta Braves. Braves are 20 games above 500 right now and in first place in the National League. And then you got the Dodgers, who are 38-22, who are first place in the National League West, second best team in the National League. And then you got the Chicago Cubs, who have been struggling, but they're still 4 games above 500. This is a very difficult month of June. And when you start looking at, before anybody says like, oh, he says this every month, you look at July. I know Kansas City's starting to play a little bit better baseball, but they have been very disappointing. You have to go to Atlanta. Okay, that's going to be tough. But then you got Miami, Colorado, San Francisco to start the second half of the year. And you're playing San Francisco during the trade deadline. Who knows what the team the Giants are going to have at that point. Arizona, they're still going to be around. You got Houston, who's not good. You got the Mets again. You got the Twins. You got the Pirates. Maybe the Pirates are going to be good. Maybe they're not. I don't know. I don't see them being a buyer at the deadline. There's some teams in there that have surprised. Like you're going to have to deal with Milwaukee and Tampa Bay. But then you get to September and you got the Washington Nationals, who I know took 2 out of 3 from you, but Giants, Rockies, Marlins. I mean, there's a lot of opportunities for the Padres in July, end of July, August, and September, and we'll see what the teams look like when we get to that point. But overall, this is a tough month of June. And if the Padres go 500 in June, I think that would be satisfactory to me. And I'm not setting the expectations low. I just think I think that's a fair ask for this Padres team as they battle through it offensively, as they try to piece everything together and try to get into a groove. This is a tough part of the schedule. If they finish June with a winning record, you're playing with house money going into July. But I view the month of June, if they play 500, that's the level of baseball that you would expect this team to play against this part of the schedule. It's not saying that they're a mediocre team, even though they're playing 500 ball. I just think this month the goal should be 500 in terms of like your viewing interests. If they finish under 500, I would consider the month of June somewhat a failure. If they finish above 500, I would consider it very much a success for the San Diego Padres here in the month of June, Frank. I mean, that's kind of how you have to piece this one together for this month.
Yeah, no, and as you walked through earlier in the segment, 500 is definitely doable for this team. I mean, I could see one losing 2 out of 3 here, take 4 of the next 6, splitting between Baltimore and St. Louis. They take 2 out of 3 against the Rangers, lose 2 out of go 2-4 in the 6th to homestand, and probably split against the Cubs. That's probably right around the 500 mark. So 500 is definitely doable for this team this month.
I think so too. And there's going to be other factors that are involved, but it would be great if the Padres Took 2 out of 3 from Philly, but I wouldn't guarantee it.
Anthony, no, we have not. We've not seen Anthony in the Facebook chat. Actually, we have not seen an official move for Jace Bowen. We're assuming that will come. We're expecting to get the lineup during the show because the game starts at 3:40, which means the roster move for Jace Bowen will come during this show as well.
Well, the other thing too is that we didn't talk about that yesterday. And we have a couple of minutes here, so we'll do it.
Yeah,
Jace Bowen is reportedly getting added to the roster today in Philadelphia. So he's not on the 40-man roster, which means you have to take somebody off the 40-man roster or place somebody on the 60-day injured list. My guess is Nick Pavetta's going on the 60-day injured list, if I had to guess. I mean, how long has he been on the injured list? It's been a long time. So I feel like that's probably the easiest move for the Padres right now instead of DFAing somebody or getting rid. But here's the deal. If they decide to part ways with Bryce Johnson, the 40-man roster spot opens up immediately.
Yeah.
So if they decide to send Song down to AAA, then I think they add Nick Pivetta to the 60-day IL. This is my guess. If they just replace Bryce Johnson with Jace Bowen, then you don't have to worry about the 40-man spot because Bryce Johnson would get DFA. He's going to get taken off the roster. So that would be my guess for the roster moves today.
And it's a very good point. We did not bring up yesterday that, yes, Jace Bowen does need a 40-man roster spot.
Right. So I honestly, that might change some things a little bit. I think now it's definitely for Bryce Johnson. If I had to guess, I don't know any other information. I was not told anything else, but now realizing, because it's been said multiple times, that you have to open up a 40-man spot for Jace Bowen. I honestly, Frank, the cleanest move is to replace Bryce Johnson with Jace Bowen.
It would be the easiest for sure, but I wouldn't put it past them because we haven't heard anything about Pivetta starting to throw again. So he's going to take some time to get ramped up. And as we talked about yesterday with, Sungwoo Song not really learning anything, not getting any better right now, sitting on the bench in what limited role he's had on the major league roster. I think especially if I'm Sungwoo Song, I'm saying I'll go down. That's fine. I want to play every single day.
As tribute.
Yeah,
really,
I volunteer as tribute. Which, I mean, if Pavetta's no closer today to being back than he was at the beginning of May, I could see that being an easy move, and that way you keep everyone. Which is something the Padres have had a tendency to do this year. They've found a way to not have to get rid of anyone.
Yeah, if they don't care about putting Bryce Johnson on waivers, but they haven't done that with anybody yet, as you mentioned.
They've been kicking the can down the road all season.
I think move number one is they send Sungwoo Song down to AAA. They put Pivetta on the 60-day, and then they activate Bowen. I think option 2 is they put Bowen on the roster and they DFA Bryce Johnson. I don't see a world in which they DFA Castellanos yet, and I especially don't think they're going to do it right before they play Philly.
No.
In Philly. I really, out of all the timing, I don't think that's part of the equation. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Important month of June for the San Diego Padres. But when we come back, we got some more comments between the owners and the players as the negotiations start. We'll explain more when we come back. San Diego State football is officially entering a new era. The Aztecs will have 10 nationally televised games in their very first season in the Pac-12 with appearances on USA Network, the CW, CBS Sports Network, and even the Big Ten Network against UCLA on the road at the Rose Bowl. And for the first time since 2012, every regular season game will be played on a Saturday. This isn't just scheduling news. This is a statement about where San Diego State football stands nationally. Pac-12 clearly views San Diego State as one of the cornerstone programs of the new conference era. Now comes the real question. Can the Aztecs turn that spotlight into championships? Because the exposure just got a whole lot bigger. San Diego State football officially feels like it has entered a completely different chapter. The Pac-12 released its 2026 football television schedule this week, and the headline is massive for the Aztecs. 10 nationally televised regular season games in their first season as members of the new Pac-12 conference. And maybe just as important, for the first time since 2012, every single regular season game will be played on a Saturday, which I think is great news. It may sound small, but it's actually a major branding move for the program. No more random Friday night kickoffs, no more late week scheduling chaos. Schedule feels like a program that's now operating on a power conference stage to an extent, but love the way the national exposure is working out for the Aztecs. Also love the no Fridays as somebody that coaches high school football.
It's not, it is. P stands for power in the Power Act 12. That is, we've said that, we've pounded it home, and that is exactly what it is. It is a power conference. The schedule, though, is you're 100% right, though. The schedule does scream visibility. San Diego State will have 4 games on the USA Network, 3 games on the CW, 2 games on CBS Sports Network, and 1 one appearance on the Big Ten Network against UCLA. That is coast-to-coast exposure for a program trying to establish itself nationally, entering a brand new conference era. The Power Act 12 clearly sees San Diego State as one of the league's centerpiece brands moving forward. And honestly, conference needs San Diego State to succeed, and they're coming off a very, very good season to where it looks like they could do that out of the Mountain West.
Yeah, biggest games on the schedule, if you will. The season opens up September 5th at Snapdragon Stadium against Portland State on USA Network, but things ramp up immediately after that. Week 2 sends the Aztecs to the Rose Bowl against UCLA in a nationally televised matchup on the Big Ten Network. Obviously, that game feels a little symbolic. It's not just San Diego State versus UCLA. It's the Pac-12's new reality colliding with college football's new power structure. Then comes conference play. Aztecs open Pac-12 competition at home against Texas State on October 3rd before a huge home matchup against Fresno State and another one against Washington State later in the season on Halloween. And circle November 21st right now, Aztecs and Broncos of Boise State. That game has some serious potential to carry conference championship implications.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also you have that flex game as well, which you would have to assume will be on national television in some way, shape, or form. Coming up the weekend after that, it's your final game of the season. So most likely all 12 games being nationally televised. Now, what does this mean for San Diego State as a program? This isn't just about television windows. It's about perception. Nationally, programs become nationally relevant when recruits, media, and casual fans can consistently see them. That matters a lot. San Diego State is coming off a 9-4 season and its first bowl appearance since 2022. And now the Aztecs enter the Power Act 12 with some real momentum and real visibility. In the conference is also clearly betting on late season drama with this new flex game format, which will be right after that Boise State game where matchups can shift to maximize college playoff positioning. So it's a very, very good step for San Diego State for sure.
Yeah, and you understand where the Pac-12's at. They want relevance immediately, right? And so San Diego State's going to benefit that from that here on this schedule. They also, some of their other non-conferences matchups are good. They're going to go to Toledo early in the season. They get James Madison, who was in the college football playoff last year, coming to Snapdragon Stadium. A lot of home games for the Aztecs, all Saturday games, as mentioned before, and almost every single game on national television. So obviously with the other side of this exposure, expectations. That obviously rises dramatically. It's one thing to quietly win games in the Mountain West. It's another thing entirely when you're playing nationally televised games almost every week under the new Pac-12 banner. And now the question becomes, can San Diego State handle the spotlight? Because the opportunities are absolutely there. Snapdragon Stadium will be featured nationally. The recruiting pipeline hopefully gets bigger. The exposure increases. The stakes increase. Now the performance has to match the stage. The other update for the Aztecs, though, in football, they just got a commit from Cathedral Catholic. Isaac Cook, wide receiver for Cathedral, one of the best receivers in San Diego County, is committed to San Diego. Live at the Bill Allen Studios, we know how. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. It's the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Good to have all of you with us today as we take you up to Gwen and Chris and the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show at 2:40. First pitch, Padres and Phillies today at 3:40. A little East Coast action. Means you got a little bit earlier of a start time for Padres baseball. We'll have a 3:40 game the next 2 days, and then a 10:05 game on Thursday. Looking forward to it. Hopefully the Padres can do some damage against the Phillies coming up in the next couple of days. Other things in Major League Baseball. Obviously, we're talking about the labor negotiations too, because of the fact that it directly impacts us as fans of Major League Baseball, because there needs to be a new collective bargaining agreement before December 1st, where this current one expires. And so that's where everybody's at right now in terms of Major League Baseball and the labor, the conversations about the future of the sport, if you will. The owners want a salary cap. The players obviously do not want a salary cap. And this is where the negotiation is starting. The players continue to say it's a non-starter to have a salary cap, but they both agree about a salary floor and a lot of other things. I think they're in a closer spot than what they've been in recent years. I think they've started the negotiations earlier than they usually do. So I am optimistic about this. And before we dive deeper into what the Players Association said yesterday, I agree with Jeff Passan, who is on with Pat McAfee this morning, about how the ultimate catastrophe for both teams or both parties here would be to not play games in 2027 because Major League Baseball is on the rise. So they can either negotiate and make their own sacrifices to come to a mutual agreement, or they can just both lose money together by not playing games. That's kind of where you're at on this. But yesterday, and again, I get it. It's all about leverage. It's about negotiation tactics. It's a lot of that. Yesterday, Bruce Meyer, who's the interim executive director for the MLB Players Association, went public for the first time since the two sides exchanged proposals last week. He delivered a blistering rejection of MLB's offer, calling it worse than the 1994 proposal that triggered the longest work stoppage in baseball history, 232 days and a canceled World Series. I think that's a little dramatic, don't you think, Frank?
Very.
Very dramatic. It's all about leverage. It's all about leverage, baby.
And the Players Association ain't got it.
Yeah. They think they do. They still think it's 1994. But I think a lot of the fans are getting wise to this. Now, the owner's proposal, as described by Bruce Meyer, so take that for what it's worth, $245.3 million salary cap, $171.2 million payroll floor. Portions of existing and future contracts would become non-guaranteed. 50-50 revenue split with an escrow mechanism. If revenue projections miss, players could owe money back. Meyer cited the NBA players returning nearly $500 million last year. Meyer claims this would equal roughly a $500 million total pay cut for players. Meyer's core arguments: this is anti-competitive and institutionalized collusion. It eliminates truly guaranteed money that hurts players at every level, especially the middle class. The union has fought salary caps for decades because they are bad for freedom, bad for competition, and bad for the fans. I don't understand how a salary cap is bad for fans, but you know what? The other things, if you want to throw that in there, fine. The offer ignores the union's priorities: free agency, minimum salary, salary arbitration, and the draft. The real problem isn't the Dodgers and Mets spending big. It's revenue-sharing teams that take money and refuse to spend it on payroll.
While that is a problem, that's not what's causing this. The teams that just take money and don't put it back into the players, put it back into their roster, That is 100% a problem. That's not why we have the situation that we have right now, though.
No, that is
It's
not the
not.
glaring problem for fans. He then goes on to talk about like using the Padres as an example. I think it's a bad example for the Players Association. Because he goes, the small market team that dramatically raised payroll became a perennial playoff contender, now draws the second highest attendance in baseball, and was just sold for a record $3.9 billion. He explicitly said the union wants to encourage more San Diegos. What they leave out is the fact that the Padres had $300 million in debt, and they were trying to work their way out of it. And I also think just because the Padres spent a lot of money, I do think it's a big reason for their success. I think it added to the value of the team.
Yes.
But they also have a beautiful stadium that gets picked the number one stadium in all of baseball every single year. They also are in the most desirable city in the United States in San Diego in terms of how beautiful it is and how great it is. I mean, we're called America's finest city for a reason. Oh, and by the way, they also have a very competitive team. They have the trifecta of what you would get for people that want to buy baseball teams. I mean, it checks almost every single box. That's why the Padres sold for a record high, and teams like the Twins and the Angels and the Rays and the Nationals and like all of these other teams that have thought about putting their team up for sale have not come close to getting the money that they wanted. I mean, if you talk about the Angels, I mean, Frank brought up a good point for the show started today about the Angels. I mean, the Angels have been trying to sell. They don't have any type of leverage to sell their team. And if they spent more money, and they've spent a lot of money, I don't think that's going to equal them being able to sell for a high margin.
No, they're in last place right now. They need a new ballpark. They have an identity crisis that the city is trying to solve for them because they clearly can't do it. So the Angels are a disaster. They're a train wreck. Meanwhile, you have Petco Park, one of the nicest ballparks in baseball, right in the middle of a bustling and growing downtown area with a bunch of stores, shops, restaurants, hotels, stuff to do.
Stuff that wasn't there before that ballpark was built.
Stuff that's interesting. A convention center where
that needs an upgrade.
Yeah.
It is election day. I'm moving on.
That none of that exists around or in close containment, at least, to Angel Stadium. Angels are in last place. Padres are in a playoff spot. The Angels have a bunch of money tied on a roster that is no good. The Padres have a bunch of money tied in a roster that the fans say is no good. It is. Let me ask you this. If Peter Seidler was still alive, would the Padres have sold?
I don't like doing that kind of game, but I
would say
really
no,
think so.
Because one of the main drivers behind the sale is that they did not want it, and they did not. The Seidlers did not want it, and they did not feel as though they could put as much love and attention into it that Peter did. That to me signals that Peter Seidler would not have sold this team, which means you got a unicorn of a team when this thing came up for sale. Nothing is going to beat the situation that this team sold in, and nothing is going to top it ever again.
The Major League Baseball owner's response was within 45 minutes of seeing Bruce Meyer, talk on his podium. The league disputed Meyer's numbers, saying players would actually receive more compensation in year one of the new system than in 2026. They framed the cap and floor as leveling the playing field and sharing revenue 50-50 like other leagues. MLB said they are ready to listen if the Players Association wants to counter at the bargaining table. There's no new bargaining session scheduled yet. Both sides expect talks soon on non-economic issues. Current CBA expires December 1st, obviously. Meyer was not optimistic about an early deal, but stressed we have to deal with each other. I think both sides have come to agreements on a lot of things already. Or they're close. Yeah, they're in the same realm. Like the Players Association understands that, yes, there needs to be a salary floor. They just refuse to call it that. They want a soft floor.
Major League Baseball wants a hard floor. Much in the same way on the other side, baseball wants a hard cap. The players want a soft cap. That is right now the biggest difference. They understand that they need the basic concept. They're just not agreeing on what it should be.
We have to take a break, but I will say this. I mean, I did see this, and maybe we have to go through and calculate ourselves, but it was interesting to see what the median annual salary for a Major League Baseball player was, and how it really points in the direction of the owners are right in the sense that more players would actually make more money under their proposal. We'll explain next. Carolina Hurricanes are back in the final for the first time since 2006, and they're entering the series as favorites against the Vegas Golden Knights. With the biggest storyline, Mitch Marner. After leaving Toronto last offseason, Marner now leads the entire playoffs in scoring and is just 4 wins away from a Stanley Cup. The twist, last year he turned down a trade to Carolina. Now he has to beat the Hurricanes to win hockey's biggest prize. Meanwhile, Carolina coach Rod Brind'Amour is trying to become one of the few people in the NHL history to win a Stanley Cup with the same franchise as both a player and as a coach. And don't forget the goalie battle. Frederik Andersen versus Carter Hart could decide the entire series. Do the Hurricanes complete their 20-year journey back to the top, or do the Golden Knights add another championship to their growing legacy? After months of playoff hockey, we're finally down to 2 teams. Carolina Hurricanes and the Vegas Golden Knights will battle for the Stanley Cup, and on paper, this matchup has everything. Carolina is making its first Stanley Cup appearance since winning it all in 2006, while Vegas is looking for its second championship in just 9 seasons of existence. Hurricanes enter the series as betting favorites, but if there's one thing we've learned about the Golden Knights, it's that counting them out is usually a mistake. Let's dive into the biggest storylines heading into the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, right now the first storyline is the Carolina Hurricanes have finally broken through. For years, the Hurricanes have been one of the NHL's most consistent regular season teams. They just could never get over the hump in the playoffs. That has changed this year. After multiple conference final disappointments, Carolina is finally back in the Stanley Cup final for the first time in 20 years. Their combination of elite defense, relentless forechecking, depth scoring, and disciplined play has made them one of the most complete teams in the National Hockey League, and the sports books agree. The Hurricanes opened the series as the favorites to win the Stanley Cup, a reflection of how dominant they have been throughout this postseason. Now for them, finish the job, yes or no?
Mitch Marner, Hollywood Scripts. If you're looking for the biggest individual storyline in this series, it's Mitch Marner. After spending 9 seasons in Toronto and never advancing past the second round, Marner left the Maple Leafs and joined Vegas last summer. Here's the twist. Last year, Toronto tried to trade Marner to Carolina, but he declined the move using his no-trade clause. Now, 1 year later, leading the playoffs in scoring, and he's going to have to beat the very team he refused to join in order to win the Stanley Cup. You couldn't write a better script. Marner has been sensational throughout the playoffs and is playing some of the best hockey of his career. If Vegas wins his first season away from Toronto, instantly becomes one of the league's biggest success stories. Well, I mean, he's playing in Toronto, and teams from Canada can't win the Stanley Cup, Frank. So it's not that surprising that he automatically gets to the Stanley Cup final.
The biggest surprise to me there is that he'd been in the league for 9 years. It feels like he's been in there for 5 at the most. Going from on the ice to behind the bench now, no individual is more connected to the Carolina Hurricanes franchise than Rod Brind'Amour. He captained Carolina to its only Stanley Cup championship in 2006 and now has a chance to coach them to another. Since becoming the head coach in 2018, Brind'Amour has transformed Carolina into one of the NHL's most respected organizations. The Hurricanes have reached the playoffs every single year under his leadership and are now finally back on the NHL's biggest stage. A championship would cement Brind'Amour as one of the most important figures in franchise history and one of the NHL's elite coaches.
How crazy has this season been? 2 months ago, John Tortorella was working in television.
Yeah.
Now he's coaching in the Stanley Cup final. Vegas made a shocking coaching change late in the season, and Tortorella stepped in. Fast forward to today, and he's preparing for his first Stanley Cup appearance since 2004 when he won a championship with Tampa Bay. That's a 22-year gap between final appearances, the longest in NHL coaching history. Love him or hate him, Tortorella's return to the spotlight has become one of the most fascinating stories of this postseason. I mean, every way you look at this, Frank, all these storylines, absolute fascinating Stanley Cup final.
Again, it's been absolutely incredible. And going back onto the ice with Jordan Staal, he spent more than a decade serving as the heartbeat of the Hurricanes organization. Now he's one series away from making NHL history. He won the Stanley Cup with Pittsburgh back in 2009. If Carolina wins this year, the 17-year gap between championships would be the longest gap for championships for a player's career in NHL history. It's a fitting opportunity for a player who has been one of the league's most respected leaders potentially to go out on top and make some NHL history at that.
Let's talk about the goaltending battle. Championships are often won in net, and this year's final is no exception. Frederik Andersen has been outstanding for Carolina. His save percentage sits above .930, and he's been nearly unbeatable throughout the playoffs. On the other side, Carter Hart, who has quietly delivered elite performances for Vegas throughout the postseason. Neither goalie was the biggest headline entering the playoffs, but both have emerged as major reasons their teams are still playing. This matchup could very well determine who lifts the Stanley Cup. Should be a fun one in goal, but you also got experience versus hunger in this one.
Yep, absolutely. Vegas brings championship experience. Carolina brings unfinished business. The Golden Knights still have several members of the original Golden Misfits team that stunned the hockey world during the franchise's inaugural season. Players like William Karlsson, Riley Smith, Braden McNabb, Shea Theodore know exactly what it takes to navigate the pressure of the Stanley Cup Finals. Carolina, meanwhile, is fueled by years of playoff frustration and a belief that this is finally their moment to shine. Sometimes experience wins, sometimes hunger wins. And right now, as we mentioned before, betting odds say hunger has the better shot.
Player to watch, Taylor Hall, former first overall pick, is finally making his Stanley Cup final debut after more than 1,000 NHL games. Hall has been outstanding throughout the playoffs and currently leads Carolina.
Ooh, on the Braden Surprenant Show. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. All of our guests join us on the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not Big Bank Banking. It's better. All right. Labor negotiations. There's a couple of things that I saw I thought were very interesting when it came to this. And I teased it going to break. If you had to guess, now you already know this, but let's just pretend you don't so we can make it a bit. Okay. Yeah. And you just try to be one off as much as you can. The median salary in Major League Baseball. The median salary, right?
So median is different than average, yes?
Correct. The mean would be the average of all the salaries. That would be the average salary in Major League Baseball. But that would be skewed because of the fact that certain players make a ton of money. So the median is the exact middle. It's the exact middle on the whole curve, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The median salary in Major League Baseball. I would love to know what people think that is in the YouTube chat. You're driving around, you're listening, tweet at us if you want, as long as you're not driving while you're tweeting.
Yeah, don't do that.
If you want to call in, 833-288-0973.
Pull over first.
973. But if you're in the YouTube chat, because all of our shows are broadcasted on YouTube, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel at @B_SURP. If you had to guess what the median salary is for a Major League Baseball player, what would it be? Go ahead and guess. I'll give you a couple of seconds to guess. Throw in there the median, the exact middle of Major League Baseball. I will let you know that the league minimum is $780,000 before somebody throws any number lower than that. The exact middle of salaries in Major League Baseball. Go ahead and give me a guess. I've seen $5 million. I've seen $1.3 million. I see $3 million. I know you already know this, but before I sent you that, what would your guess be, Frank?
I would guess it would be around the $1.5-2 million range.
One of my friends said $7 million. I said, that's a little high. And then he went down to $3 million. So a couple of different deals. The median salary in Major League Baseball among all players to step on the field in a given season is the league minimum. It's $780,000. Now, that makes sense because anybody that steps on the field, there's going to be a lot of guys going up and down. They're making league minimum. When they make it to the big leagues, that makes sense. If you adjust for just opening day 26-man rosters and the injured list, the median is still around league minimum. The league minimum. So when you hear about these labor negotiations and when you hear about how the players, deserve to get paid more money and all this other stuff, you hear it from literally the top players in Major League Baseball that are making 20, 30, 40, 50, almost up to $60 million a year, saying that, we don't want to do this deal because of the cap. It's going to hurt all of our earners in Major League Baseball, knowing damn well that almost the majority of players in Major League Baseball are making league minimum. And the new proposal, which I think needs to be worked out, I don't think that's the right number for the cap. I don't think it's the right number for the floor. I think they can raise the league minimum. But if you just raise the league minimum to what the owners suggested, or even the players suggested, $1.5 million, the majority of Major League Baseball players are getting a raise for 2027.
Getting a paid doubled, effectively.
Yeah, almost doubled. And that's literally what the owners have said. They're like, everybody's going to get a raise. So I'm just saying, if you want to take the side of the, and I don't think you should take sides. I think the fans should take the fan side and go, what do I want to see in the product that I pay for? That's literally what they're at. That's literally what your side would be. You would do this with any product that you ever buy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Any type of product. Major League Baseball is a product. It's an entertainment product for you to watch. What is going to get you to watch Major League Baseball and consume the product more? That is what these two entities need to come up with if they want to ultimately make as much money as possible. Don't pick a side. Think about it from a fan perspective. What do you want? And then they can hash out the money when we're talking about labor negotiations. But the reality is, even if the players said yes to this proposal from the owners, which I still think favors the owners a little bit, just like the first proposals usually do, it would still make more money for everybody else in Major League Baseball. The biggest problem the players have is their top however many percentage players that make all this money are dictating what everybody else makes. We heard the phone call from Derek in La Mesa last Friday about how he was affected by this as a minor league player in 1994. So for every time that you hear from these players like a Bryce Harper, who's getting paid one of the top salaries in Major League Baseball, say that it's for the betterment of all of us, that's the information you need to know. The majority of Major League Baseball players make league minimum on these rosters. I thought that was very telling. But again, you get and I saw this comment, because a lot of the agents, right? They make more. They make their big money on the one or two big fish, right?
Mm-hmm.
The one or two big fish. And so, he's going to, the agents are going to continue to convince the players at the bottom that they cannot give away the right for 10 players to get $40 million a year from the Mets and the Dodgers instead of drastically bumping up the minimum salary and helping the most players possible.
I'm glad you brought up the Mets and Dodgers because that was one thing. I'm trying to look for the tweet that I saw a second ago. Somebody, I forget who it was, part of the reason why I can't find the tweet anymore, said that he was skeptical of competitive balance and Major League Baseball getting competitive balance because the Mets and Dodgers over the last 3 years have spent the same amount of money effectively within $1 million of each other over the last couple of years. And the Dodgers have 67 more wins, averaging 15 more wins a year over the time frame. In every sport, we have said, because I think we're in favor. We're both in favor of the salary cap, correct?
Yeah, I want to see the sport I want to see them all play by the same rules. And again, this is not like that. The lazy arguments like, you support socialism. It's like, come here, give me a break. Okay, this is not what this is.
When was the last time that we said, after saying we support a salary cap, when was the last time we said this will make every single team equal? There will never be another dynasty. There will never be another back marker. When was the last time we said that?
I don't think I've ever said that.
Exactly. We know that with a salary cap, we see it in the NBA, we see it in the NHL,
the
we
NFL.
see it in the NFL, that just because there's a salary cap league doesn't mean that everyone has an equal chance at winning, because there are smart front offices and then there are stupid front offices. The Mets are the epitome of a stupid front office. You could give them all the money in the world. They will never win a World Series because their front office is moronic. Same as the Jets. Same thing. We make fun of the Jets all the time because they are so incompetent. The Browns, as Go Aztecs puts it, you have teams like the Patriots, the Golden State Warriors, the Lakers, the Celtics, that go on incredible generational dynasty-like runs in those cap sports. That's because they have smart ownership, smart front offices that spend their money wisely. We have never once insinuated that if you put a cap and a floor in Major League Baseball, that there is never going to be another dynasty in baseball, because there will be. We know that. It's one thing to be a dynasty because you have more money than everyone else. It's another thing to be a dynasty because you were smarter about the limited money you spent. That is what we, as people who want a salary cap, want. We want the smartest teams to win, not the teams that have the fiscal advantage over everyone else.
I got news for a lot of people too that like think, because somebody was like, you shouldn't be capped on your skill set. Everybody in the United States has a salary cap. Everybody's job is capped. I just go look at your own office. You're all capped. I mean, everybody's capped, but like we're not like with the players, we're capping the players. But by the way, with a salary cap, you could still pay individuals as much money as you possibly want.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to work a roster out of it. And again, this is a private entity that is running an entertainment business. And guess what? Since the entire thing is under a capitalistic society, which we are in the United States, and I firmly believe in, since it's all under that, if they wanted to make more money, they could go do another job. That's how you jump between salaries for most people in America. You get to a certain level, that's the ceiling, and then it's like, I want to make more. All right, time to go do something else. This is about making things competitive in Major League Baseball and making the best brand of baseball that they possibly can. And what that is not stacking all players on one team. It's pretty simple. And there's really no argument against it unless you're thinking about some way to stick it to billionaires. But at this point, it's getting to a level where the players are making so much money anyway that I find it ironic that you just like pick and choose which people in life can make money, which people are not allowed to make money, which I think is fundamentally wrong in its own right. But the reality is you got to look at the fact of what is going to make the product that you consume, which is Major League Baseball, the best product ever.
And someone just said it in chat. There are ways around that. There are ways that you can make more. The whole Kawhi Leonard situation. He's playing in a cap league. He found out ways to make more. Weren't necessarily legal, but
right.
They found a way. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Signing bonuses in the NFL don't count. I mean, that's what I was just about to ask you. Those are the things that need to be discussed in these labor negotiations. You could put a cap in and still make a ton of money.
Yeah. They just want to. Kyle Tucker wants to make all the money he can and play with every other star in Major League Baseball
and live in L.A. That's what it is.
He doesn't want to live in Minnesota and make the same amount of money.
Yeah, because again, we've said it multiple times. I'll continue to say it. People don't get it. It's like a guy like Shohei Ohtani, maybe when he became a free agent with a salary cap, his options were Minnesota, Kansas City, and Cincinnati to make as much money as possible. But the choice changes on, maybe I don't want the most money. Maybe I do want to be in a place that's a lot better. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We'll flip the discussion in the 11 o'clock hour.
Hey, it's
11 o'clock on the Braden Surprenant Show. Broadcasting live at the Bill Allen Studios. We know how. We didn't get to the Bryce Harper comments. We'll get to that right now before we move on to another business entity in college sports, which, by the way, they got the NCAA tournament going on for golf right now at the Omni in La Costa.
I just threw it on because there was nothing else on.
I know. I saw you put it on. I was like, is that? I was seeing the scenics, and I'm like, that looks like Encinitas. And sure enough, it's La Costa. So, yeah, it's cool to have the NCAA tournament here in town. It's awesome. They're part of the they're on the LPGA, I think the La Costa Resort up there. And then I think this is not the first time we've hosted the NCAA tournament, but what a great place. And hopefully there was some great weather. We had some great weather this week for these guys to go out there and golf. Future PGA Tour members out there on the course. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. All right. Bryce Harper, the voice of the anti-cap situation.
Yeah, he has been the most vocal about this.
But again, this directly affects him and nobody else. Which, by the way, I don't even understand why they're upset when they already have their contract. I mean, he's not getting another one, but whatever. Two-time MVP is respected leader gives players' side major star power and quotable moments in this piece that was on ESPN. He views the Dodgers as the model, directly counters the big markets ruin everything narrative. Success comes from smart spending, development, not just money. 2020, it's like, come on, dude. High payroll teams underperforming while low payroll teams dominate. Perfect real-time evidence against needing a salary cap for parity. Escrow fear, easy to explain to fans. Players could have to pay the owners back if projections miss. I think that's kind of ridiculous. I mean, these are things that you can negotiate.
Yeah.
But his whole argument was when you look at what he was putting, what he said was, he said that a salary cap essentially would ruin what makes baseball great right now. And what he pointed to was baseball's great right now because teams like the Dodgers. Is that what makes baseball great? Do we love the fact? I don't like sports where one team dominates, but at least in the salary cap leagues, you could say, well, we're playing by the same rules. They're just doing it better than us. I don't necessarily think baseball is so great right now because the Dodgers have dominated baseball for the last 2 years. Would you consider that the reason why people love the baseball? Because they have a team that everybody can love to hate? I don't find that to be what we're looking for here. Incorrect. All right.
I love small market reality. Owners lean on no small market World Series winners since 2015. Players point to current standings and teams like the Padres. Okay, we've already gone over why the Padres are an anomaly in this case. Yeah. We've also, over the course of the show, have gone, not this show specifically, but the fact that the Kansas City Royals, when they went to back-to-back World Series, were in the top 10 in payroll. And then what happened after they won that World Series?
Everybody left. They couldn't afford to pay them anymore. Same thing with the Marlins when they won a World Series. They're second.
Exactly. So the small market team that wins had a top 10 payroll, number one. So they were spending the money. And then when they couldn't sustain it, they fell right back into the cellar and started the whole process over again and still haven't gotten back. They still have not gotten back to competitive status after their World Series win 11 years ago. Is that really what you want? Do you really want a league that if a team finally finds a way and just does what it needs to do to win a World Series, do you want them to sit in hell for the next 15 years unable to get back?
I find it funny that they point to the current standings like it's going to be the standings at the end of the season. It's like, oh, well, look, these teams are in first place. I don't remember them ever handing out a World Series championship at the end of May at the current standings. I don't. I don't ever remember seeing that. They also, regret to inform you, like the standings right now where, big time teams are also in first place. Like, I don't know, Atlanta, who are 20 games above 500. I don't know, the Dodgers, who are 5 games in first place in the National League West. I mean, say what you want about the Brewers, I guess, but I can't remember the last time the Brewers won a World Series in the National League.
No,
and when we talk to the Brewers broadcaster, he says, oh, they just can't get over the hump. Oh, I wonder why.
Yeah, they want you to focus on the Rays, who've never spent money. They want you to focus on the Mets, who spend money and are still sitting in last place.
And guess what?
That's what they want you to focus on.
Guess what neither of them have done since
86.
Since the Rays became a team.
Yeah, the Rays in their existence and the Mets in 40 years never won a World Series.
Never won a World Series. So again, Harper and the players argue the problem isn't the lack of a cap. It's just like, well, everybody, the ownerships are bad and the drafting's bad and the development's bad. And, it's not just the money. The more we talk about this, the less I believe, I should say, in the arguments being proposed by the Players Association. That's not just, we want to make sure our top 2% of earners on our side make a ton of money and unlimited money and be able to go wherever they want. I mean, that's literally what they're actually arguing, but they can't say that out loud because nobody's going to want to side with them. So they throw out all these other arguments that don't make any sense, where the fans are in the middle right now, just wanting the best product possible that they are paying their hard-earned dollars for.
And you brought this up before the show started. There's a reason why these arguments make less and less sense, and you're seeing it. And usually it's the more irrational side is the one that's losing the argument quite a bit. You have internet now.
Yeah.
This is something that was not an issue in 1994. So in 94, you're waiting on the paper every single day. You're waiting on SportsCenter to come on. That's what you're waiting on. You can get this news and you can hear these rebuttals at the drop of a hat. It's instantaneous. You didn't have that in 1994. So yeah, you're trying to do this in a new information age when you can't just put out these erroneous comments and then you have to wait for 7:00 on Tuesday for someone to finally rebut it when you've had a week to think it over.
Well, and the other thing too with the internet, not just the internet, but in 1994, when you walked outside to pick up the paper that just got thrown on your front porch,
it's probably soaked because your sprinklers were on.
You take a look to your right, and one of the players on your local ball teams was your next door neighbor.
Yep.
I'm sure the median income back in 1994 was probably relative to the median income we have now, where it was probably the league low. And the league low and the league minimum in 1994 was $109,000. That's a little bit more relatable to, I think, a lot of fans. But now it's like, I'm not really that relate. I can't relate to this.
We said it on the show. We said it on the show either Thursday or Friday. The Padres are paying Manny Machado $5 million more this year than their entire ball club salary was in 1994. Manny's getting $5 million more than the entire roster made in 94.
Right. And that's accounting for inflation. I mean, I remember even just like during my lifetime. I mean, Sean Merriman lived in like the Scripps Ranch neighborhood of in one of the neighborhoods down the street.
Yeah, Trav Gundy just said it in chat. Yeah. He grew up next to Gary Sheffield.
I had a friend that lived in Poway. I mean, we used to go over to his house for like our, end of the school party as a kid. His back fence neighbor was Tony Gwynn. Right? Now it's like, unless you live in Coronado or Del Mar or something like that, you have no idea where any of these players live. I mean, they're not they have worked themselves, and good for them. They've made a ton of money, but I just think if your entire argument is like poor players, it falls on deaf ears for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I really feel like that's the case. So again, as I sit here in the middle and I view it from a perspective of a fan, I want what's best for Major League Baseball
because I am a consumer of said product. And as a consumer of a product, whatever that product may be, I will continue to pay for a certain product and watch or whatever it may be if the product is up to the standards that I want the product to be at, right? Like, you would do that with anything. And then when the product does not get to the level of what it is priced at, you stop paying for said product. Everybody does that across the board, but for some reason in Major League Baseball, we want to pick a side instead of just be like, what do I want to watch?
And just to put that into perspective, I'm not buying NHL 27 this year. I'm not buying EAFC 27 this year because the games have been garbage. So
right, I was going to make the video game.
I'm not spending my money on it.
I don't go to the movies anymore. I don't. I have yet to find a movie in the last, 3, 4, 5 years that I'm like, I really want to go see this.
Oh, the Green Book finally came on Netflix after 8 years.
But Netflix was getting to a level where it was not justifying me paying for it because it wasn't anything on there I wanted to watch. The same thing's about to happen to baseball if both sides are not careful. And Jeff Passan said that with Pat McAfee earlier today, and the reality is true. Regardless if you want, to stick it to the owners or if you want the players to make as much money as possible or whatever it may be, for your own personal reasons to make you seem virtuous, the fact of the matter is if they miss any games, they're both going to hose themselves. And they'll have no one to blame but each other. And themselves, if you will. 833-288-973, 833-288-973. When we come back, college sports really following the same suit, except the government's involved. We'll talk about the bill that just got proposed and whether or not it will pass, and if it fixes college football or not when we come back. All right. Well, the NFL was fun on a Monday here in the month of June. They got June started off properly with trades galore. Plus, got a quarterback that is leaving the NFL to join CBS. You got Illinois deciding when they're going to vote on a new Bears stadium in the fall, and lots going on in the National Football League. Even though it is June 1st, and we're getting ready for the beginning part of the season, or really the off season, with a lot of just different training camps. But two big trades that happened on Monday of this week. The first one was the Cleveland Browns traded Myles Garrett to the Los Angeles Rams in exchange for Jared Verse and some draft picks. And I look at this initially as obviously the big winner to me is the Los Angeles Rams in getting Myles Garrett. Jared Verse is one of the better players in the National Football League on his way up. So maybe they replace Myles Garrett with a younger, talented player in Jared Verse. They pick up some draft picks, the Browns do. But this is the Rams, and this is their MO. They trade for top talent around the NFL, and draft picks be damned.
Yeah, and this is so the official trade is Myles Garrett going to Los Angeles. Jared Verse is going back to Cleveland along with a first-round draft pick in 27, a second-rounder in 28, and a third-rounder in 29. So that's the haul that's going back to Cleveland in this trade. But yeah, this is the Rams' MO: get and keep, or try your best to keep big-time, professional, proven talent. And draft picks are just that. They're potential, they're draft picks, they're prospects, as we say in baseball.
Yeah, I'm all in favor of keeping draft picks because that's where you improve your depth to your team. But the Rams have proven that they can do it. I mean, this is, like we said, this is the norm for them. They did this in 2021 during the offseason when they acquired Matt Stafford in the season in which the Super Bowl was being played in LA before going on to win the Super Bowl. So they mentioned it before. I mean, when they won the Super Bowl, F them picks. We'll try to repeat the history. But even then, like, I thought when they made that trade for Stafford, it's like, all right, well, they're going all in right now. It works out for them if they win the Super Bowl. Not only did they win the Super Bowl, you thought they were going to be bad for like the years after that, and they weren't. In fact, people were throwing out the rumor that Sean McVay was going to hang it up and go work for TV and just be, it's like, all right, I don't know why you'd want to coached this team. They sold everything away, but yet they've still made the playoffs almost year in and year out in Los Angeles since winning the Super Bowl, trading the draft picks, and they just did it again. And just to go through history, since 2016, here are the first-round draft picks for the Los Angeles Rams. Jared Goff, who eventually was traded in the Matthew Stafford deal. 2017, zero number one draft picks. 2018, none. 2019, none. 2020, none. 2021, none. 2022, none. 2023, none. 2024, Jared Verse, who eventually gets traded in the Myles Garrett deal. 2025, none. 2026, Ty Simpson. I would assume that Ty Simpson might be getting traded in a couple of years, maybe for, I don't know, Joe Burrow, maybe some big-time player. I mean, this is very on par for the Rams. Not surprised by it. I think it could work out for both teams. I mean, I think the Browns' track record makes me a little skeptical about this move, but I love the deal for the Rams. And as for the Browns, I think it remains to be seen. But it's not like they're not getting a good player back in Jared Verse. He's one of the better players in the National Football League, and only been in the league for a couple of years. The other trade that happened. Now, we got wind of this over the weekend that it was only a matter of time before A.J. Brown got dealt to the New England Patriots, because it was rumored that he was going to be traded to the Patriots within 24 hours, and then all of a sudden it finally went through, later in the day on Monday. But you know what? You get A.J. Brown out of Philadelphia, who's had his issues in Philly. He's still one of the better receivers in the National Football League. He's older now, so I don't know how much explosive production he's going to have. But, the Patriots get another weapon for Drake May. I like the move for both sides. It might work out maybe more for the Eagles at the end of the day, but the Patriots get a receiver that's a dynamic player that can help Drake May out.
Yeah, and again, this trade, Eagles agreed to the trade. A.J. Brown to the Patriots for a first-round pick in 28 and a fifth-round pick in 27. So it took a first-round pick to get him, and this is honestly the first time that I can remember since Randy Moss that the Patriots have really had a true number one wide receiver, a guy that they can go to, a guy that you can trust to make the big play when needed. I know Julian Edelman was there for a long time. He was really good. I wouldn't put him on the same level as a guy like Randy Moss or A.J. Brown when he's at his best.
I like that move too. I mean, so those are the two big trades that happened in the NFL. How about this? Quarterback Russell Wilson is finalizing a deal to become a CBS sports analyst, according to Adam Schefter today. He also had an offer on the table from the New York Jets to join the team as a backup.
Surprenant Show, broadcasting live from the Bill House Studios. We know how. All of our guests join us on the SDCCU fan hotline. It's not Big Bang Banking, it's better. Some people that have Google searched on AI what the MLB median is. 20. That's involving the 26-man roster, opening day roster plus injury list. But the full picture, 60 to 65% of players that step on the field each year are pre-arbitration, and they account for more than 50% of all service time days earned. Hence, the median is the minimum in Major League Baseball. And obviously, the player careers are becoming shorter too. So that's where those numbers are pulled from. But the overall picture to tell people is the majority of baseball players are making league minimum more than they are making all this extra money that is being argued for part of these labor negotiations. Speaking of labor negotiations, or really not really negotiations, but a way to fix the business side of college athletics. Has anybody seen the new bill that was sponsored? I mean, we kind of talked about it one of these breaks, but it's the Protect College Sports Act. Senators Maria Cantwell, a Democrat from Washington, and Ted Cruz, Republican from Texas, along with co-sponsor Senators Chris Coons, a Democrat from Delaware, and Eric Schmidt, a Republican from Missouri, have reached a deal on the Protect College Sports Act. It's a comprehensive, landmark, bipartisan attempt to stabilize college athletics after years of chaos from NIL deals, transfers, court rulings that dismantled the old amateurism model. Their goals are to grant the NCAA a new college sports commission targeted antitrust exemptions for key areas like athlete transfers, eligibility rules, and compensation cap.
slow the financial arms race, protect non-revenue sports, including Olympic and women's sports, and preserve the traditional college sports model fans love, and create a national standard for NIL compensation by preempting conflicting state laws. They want to put in a lot of these different rules. I think a lot of these rules are interesting. One of them is a transfer rule where they generally allow only one transfer without sitting out a season. Additional transfers permitted under exceptions, like your head coach leaves, the sport is cut, other philosophies, if you will. Eligibility, they want to set a 5-year eligibility clock, which bars professional athletes, those who have earned more than prize money from college competition. Compensation cap enforcement, they want to put in a salary cap for sports. They're putting in NIL rules. They're trying to prevent super leagues, which block any league from earning over $1 billion, which is currently only the Big Ten and the SEC. Media rights, they want to have those get pooled like they do in professional sports. And then other notable rules, 5% cap on agent fees. They're putting in a Lane Kiffin rule, which prohibits coaches from leaving before the season ends. Guaranteed medical care and scholarships for athletes, medical trust for lower resource departments, requirements to maintain Olympic sports scholarships and revive certain rivalries, and broadcasts of local teams cannot be behind paywalls if you're pooling. I like a lot of the rules that they have put in place on this bill. I don't know if they're going to be able to pass this or not. The fact that it's bipartisan in this day and age of politics in the United States, I think is very interesting. But overall, Frank, I mean, yeah, it's not like super great for all the players because they don't get to, do everything that they want. But I think these are all the rules that need to be applied to college athletics that they haven't even they failed to put in effect.
Yeah, these are the warning. These are the blocks that they should have put in before putting in NIL. I think, of course, hindsight's 2020. But anyone with half a brainstem would have thought, yeah, before we start paying you guys, let's put in some safety measures before this. You're going to get your money. Don't worry. You're going to get your money. If you want to put a time limit on it, that's fine. If you want to say, okay, we have to get paid before 2027, then that's fine. But this is what should have happened before before NIL and all of these new rules were put in. So unfortunately, you're trying to shove some of the toothpaste back in the bottle, but it's toothpaste that never should have escaped in the first place.
I love all these rules. I mean, there's some people and some journalists out there that are like just super pro player that hate like the transfer rule and all this other stuff. I mean, when you see the arguments against this bill, it's mostly from lawyers who have made a ton of money off of college kids and their legal battles with the NCAA. And it's like, all these random agents that you see now in college athletics that don't even have any type of certification or any knowledge in litigation or, being a lawyer or running contracts or any of that stuff. I mean, a lot of these guys are just like social media people, like, oh, I know how to run a social media account. Let me get 5% of your earnings. But parasites. I like all these rules. Yeah, they are parasites. But I like these rules in college athletics. I mean, again, in sports specifically, you can't have the fact that one place makes more money than the others be the reason why they win. I just find it funny. I'm not going to go down that road, but I do find it funny for certain arguments of when people want to use that and when they don't want to use that particular deal. But I think this is a pro-stability, pro-traditional college sports bill that also doesn't eliminate kids from making money, which is what the whole point of this was. The whole point of this was to name, image, and likeness was about paying kids that had a great YouTube channel, letting them allow to make money on their own stuff that they weren't allowed to make money for if they wanted to be a college athlete or their own entities. So, or their own business models, if you will. So the fact that they're going to get paid and you're putting in these rules to limit the transfers and to limit the super leagues and to really restore balance to Division I think is a massive win for college athletics. But the government has to get involved because the NCAA does not have antitrust law protection. And until they get antitrust law protection, none of their rules are ever going to hold up in court. So like for everybody going like, I can't believe the government shouldn't get involved in this. Let them come up with their own rules. They can't enforce any of the rules unless the government gets involved. And so I'm glad the government is getting involved, which I can't believe I'm ever saying for anything. But I like what they put together on this bill. I think they did a lot of great research on it. I think it attacks a lot of the problems right now in college athletics. I think a lot of this is stemming towards football, of course, but they have to like kind of balance the power and not just let the SEC and the Big Ten dictate everything because they have the most money.
It gives the NCAA its power back. That's effectively what this does. It allows the NCAA to be the final deciding factor in a lot of these decisions again, where it's not. Now it's the conferences and it's the players going to court. This gives the NCAA its teeth back.
Right. But also the players are getting paid, right? Like it's not like the dumb thing of,
oh, right. Yeah, no, it's putting in the protections for the NCAA that it needed to put in before they allowed the players to get paid.
This is not the old school big bad NCAA. This would be a different version of it, but at least they get to enforce some of these rules that have been ridiculous with transfers and free agency every single year and, you know, teams losing out on all of their whatever. I mean, all of their players after every season, which is kind of a joke. I like the pooling of the TV contracts. I think that is good. But again, the government putting this in, like they're going to have to abide by a lot of these rules if this thing passes. I know some conferences aren't going to like it, but these are going to be the rules that the judges, go off of. So I like all these moves. I like the Lane Kiffin move. Poaching coaches during the season is also a joke. But if the NCAA just did this before they just allowed people to just spend money on players, they'd be in a lot better place. Maybe this can start returning some of the teams back to their original conferences, and you could get more regional games, and you could bring the aura of college athletics back. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Scout to Lou and Lucady has been on hold. Lou, what's going on, man?
Hey, guys. This season's just winding down. I mean, just a few weeks ago, I was going to call in and ask a dumb question about your health benefits because I was concerned, did Frank have suicide watch benefit for the Mets? And then, go ahead. And then thank God you guys are on social media. I can't stand it. I had to support it as an IT professional, but I said, well, I'll get on Facebook when they have a don't like. But my question is, what is the current position of deferred salary? E.g., Shohei Ohtani making $100 a year and deferring everything else. Does that apply to any salary cap or revenue sharing? And then is there any proposed stance on that for the next PBA?
They actually, which is interesting, Lou, and I appreciate the phone call. Neither the owners nor the players put anything out about deferred salaries.
I didn't see anything mentioned about that.
That's just like immediately that has just been missed on all these negotiations. That's number one. Number two, like some of that deferred money does count towards the salary, towards the competitive balance tax. What was the percentage? It's like 40% or something like that of the future.
I don't remember.
I forget what it is. So like I know like Shohei's making $2 million on a salary. He accounts for like $47 million towards their luxury tax or whatever it is. So whatever the percentage is on that is what accounts for the luxury tax. That's another area that needs to be addressed too, is the deferred money. But to me, like they need a salary cap, and then they need ways in which you can renegotiate contracts so the players can still get paid, and then it gives them an ability. The players can get paid, and you can have roster restrictions for things.
I don't understand why. Maybe they're saving it in their back pocket, but I feel like if you took a designated player from Major League Soccer and applied it to Major League Baseball, I think that'd be a pretty good happy medium. If you gave every team 2 designated players so they can make as much money as possible, then the top, whatever it is, percentage, top 1% of baseball players, 60 baseball players would be able to earn unlimited amount of money, and where it wouldn't count towards your cap. I feel like they can start implementing some of the rules like this where maybe you have a core, and your core is the group that doesn't get affected by the salary cap, if you will, right? Like, what if you got like 6 players as your core and you elect them as your core? We always talk about that for all these teams that have these long-term contracts. You could make whatever number. I'm just using that as an example. But you had 6 core players that don't count towards your salary cap, and then everybody else does. And in order to add to your core, you have to take away from your core. You're going to have to cut or whatever. Like, I think there's ways where these guys at the top can still get paid a lot of money with a salary cap.
I think you could do it to where you have one starter and one starting pitcher and one position player.
One pitcher.
I think that would probably be the best and easiest way to do it. It kind of levels out what you can do instead of stacking on offense or instead of stacking on the rotation and weakening your other side. I think that would probably, if you wanted to do that, I would be more in place for that, where you get one position player and one pitcher under that. 6, as you said, is just throwing out a random number, but I think that's too much.
A 26-man roster, if you had like maybe, I mean, you could do 2 and 2. I mean, you could still do it like that, but at least with the cap, like, if you just go like, who's the biggest problem, right? The Dodgers are the biggest problem, right? And we all agree that they're the biggest problem. Yeah. Okay, so like if you look at the Dodgers roster and you implemented like whatever 2 per team, if you did that, or like even like, you could even do, 2 pitchers, 2 position players. You really want to feel generous. But let's talk about the Dodgers for a second as I try to pull up their roster. I mean, if you did that where they didn't account towards the salary cap, you just took like the highest paid players that are right now towards the competitive balance tax, their core group, even if you did 4, let's just say you do 4 and you do 2 position players and 2 pitchers, Kyle Tucker, Shohei Ohtani, Blake Snell, and Tyler Glasnow would all not account towards the luxury tax. What?
I would classify Ohtani as a pitcher.
Let's just it doesn't matter. No, those are semantics right now. I'm trying to give you the top 4 highest earners on this team. Okay, so that's according to their current AAV. So let's just think about that for example. So Kyle Tucker's making $57 million, and Ohtani's making $46 towards the cap, and Blake Snell's making $31, and Glasnow's making $27. That means you would have to have Yamamoto, Betts, Freeman, Diaz, Hernandez, Scott, Edman, Will Smith, Blake Trinan, Max Muncy, Evan Phillips, Miguel Rojas, Kike Hernandez, Hyun Kim, Alex Vesey, and Santiago Espinal. All of those guys would have to get paid something that's under the cap. Like, they wouldn't be able to keep all these guys, right? Theoretically. And then you would spread the talent out. So you get the same competitive balance that you would want at the same time of letting certain players get as much money as they possibly can. And you can do that for a lot of teams, but you're not going to be able to protect everybody, right? And that would be kind of a happy medium between the two. I mean, the players are just going to say no cap regardless because the guys at the top say everything, but I think there's ways around it where you can implement a salary cap and have these different roster rules in there that allows players to get paid. It doesn't seem like it's that like crazy to come up with something like this.
No, and for the Padres in that case, let's just take a look at them. Your two protected position players would be Manny and Xander.
Right.
With Michael King and
Joe Musgrove.
Yes.
Would be your highest paid pitchers.
Those would be your two protected pitchers, yes.
Correct, according to the salary of the AAV currently. And then again, like you would have a protected player like Joe Musgrove, and it's like, all right, well, we signed him to this, but
he ends up getting hurt, it hurts it hurts their overall spending because now they got to stay under budget for other players, right? So I think there's a way that they could do both in reality. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. We do have to take a break, but I want to get to Scott and Del Mar who called in. Scott, what's going on, man?
Hey, appreciate you guys always killing it on the radio. Appreciate what you're doing for San Diego. Also, great meeting you again a couple weeks ago at the Padre game up in the Western Meadow. And honestly, the salary cap thing's kind of crazy when you think about like all these guys making a lot of money. So we've got to have to figure. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of people having one way or the other. Salary cap, no salary cap, but just one thing that I think that needs to happen is it has to be some sort of, you want to call it even playing field, but like you just got to have some sort of thing in place where it's not like we're going to have another labor strike in 2 years. Like it's got to be an agreement where it's like at least 5, 6, 7, 8 years where it's in there, right? Where we're not having this conversation again and stopping baseball, because baseball right now at the top of the top highest level right now is the best it is. So just doing that, it's got to be a long-term thing. It can't, these people going back and forth with the big wigs, MLBPA and MLB, they got to have some sort of contract long distance. But also just want to give a quick shout out. I run a college summer baseball team here in San Diego. Opening night last night for us. Big win last night, 13-11 against our rival San Diego Waves. Obviously, great competition there with those guys. But come on, check us out. SDBombers_college ball on Instagram, sdbombers.org. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Go Padres. Let's get a sweep against the Phillies out there. Let's go.
Appreciate the phone call, Scott. I do agree with Scott in the sense we got to take a break. They got to make this thing long. They can't do like another 6-year deal. They got to make this thing long so they don't have to worry about it again. We got to take a quick break. When we come back, what else is going on in sports? We'll get to our sports thread. The 2026 NBA Finals are officially set. It's a classic matchup. Knicks and Spurs. San Antonio stunned the defending champion Thunder in 7 games behind Victor Wembanyama, who averaged over 27 points and nearly 11 rebounds in the Western Conference Finals. 22-year-old superstar now has the Spurs 4 wins away from another championship. Meanwhile, the Knicks have been unstoppable. New York swept both Philly and Cleveland and enters the finals riding an incredible 11-game winning streak. Jalen Brunson continues to lead the way, while Karl Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges, and OG Anunoby have turned the Knicks into one of the NBA's most complete teams. It's the first Knicks finals appearance since 1999 against the same Spurs. Could Brunson end a 53-year title drought for New York, or will Wembanyama capture his first championship and officially begin a new Spurs dynasty? Game 1 will tip off Wednesday night in San Antonio. We finally got the matchup. It's set. Knicks and Spurs. Thrilling conference finals round. 2026 NBA Finals are set as a finals rematch of 1999. Knicks are seeking their first title since 1973. Spurs seeking their 6th championship and first since 2014. Something's got to give.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll start with how we got to this point, which was Game 7 of the Western Conference Final. The Spurs beating the Thunder 111-103. The young Spurs completed one of the most impressive playoff runs in recent NBA history by knocking out the defending champion Thunder on the road. Victor Wembanyama erupted with emotion after the final buzzer, celebrating his first trip to the NBA Finals. I believe it's just his 2nd season. San Antonio became one of the youngest teams ever to reach the NBA Finals. The Spurs defeating Oklahoma City 8 times this year, including the playoffs and the regular season. And also Oklahoma City's bid for back-to-back championships coming to an end with Victor Wembanyama. Just absolutely incredible numbers throughout the series. 23.3 points per game, 10.9 rebounds, 19 total blocks, over 37.7 minutes per game. Western Conference Final MVP unanimously. Opened up the series with 41 points and 24 boards in Game 1. Became a clear centerpiece for San Antonio's championship aspirations, which we all kind of knew he was going to be when he got drafted.
Yeah, and the supporting cast stepped up. I mean, Stephon Castle, second year guard, continued his breakout postseason, 19.2 points per game during the playoffs, 6.7 assists per game. Primary defender on Anthony Edwards and Shai Alexander. So, I mean, he's the guy that was covering SGA, which is a huge help for the Spurs. Dylan Harper, rookie, continued to shine. He had 24 points in game 1, 18 in game 6, several key rebounds and clutch baskets in game 7. De'Aaron Fox, despite battling a high ankle sprain, returned after missing games 1 and 2 and delivered a strong game 7 performance, added that veteran leadership throughout the series. And the biggest play of game 7, with Wembanyama in foul trouble late, backup center Luke Cornett delivered a crucial momentum swing, blocked an Isaiah Hartenstein transition layup, sparked a fast break, led directly to a Stephon Castle basket. Wembanyama called it the definition of a winning play. What this means for San Antonio, just 2 years ago, 22 wins, 18-game losing streak, full rebuild mode. Now, 62-win season. Wembanyama winning Defensive Player of the Year, Western Conference champions, and 4 wins away from an NBA Finals championship. The Spurs have accelerated their timeline dramatically and maybe at the beginning of a sustained championship window. But on the Eastern side, it's been the Knicks really taking it to everybody in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, the Knicks winning 4-0 against the Cleveland Cavaliers. New York absolutely steamrolling Cleveland, entering the NBA Finals on an 11-game winning streak. Game 1, historic comeback. Knicks beating the Cavs 115-104 in overtime. The defining moment of the series. Knicks trailed 93-71 with 7:52 remaining. Then they went on a 44-11 run the rest of the way, completed one of the largest fourth quarter playoff comebacks in NBA history, with Jalen Brunson leading the way at 38 points. Game 2, Knicks took control, 109-93 win. Josh Hart, a career playoff high for him at 26 points. Brunson, 19 points and 14 assists. Karl Anthony Towns, 18 points, 13 boards. The Knicks used a devastating 18-0 third quarter run to break the game open. Game 3, even more punishing, 121-118, controlled the game from start to finish. Brunson, 30 points. Mikal Bridges, 22. OG Anunoby with 21. 10 straight playoff victories. And here's how the New York Knicks were able to dominate. Jalen Brunson, team leader, clutch scorer, averaging nearly 27 points per game this postseason. Cat doing exactly what you wanted him to do after trading away Julius Randle. Floor spacing, secondary playmaker, tough matchup against bigs. Mikal Bridges, elite two-way player, shooting nearly 60%. OG Anunoby, this is the kind of guy you wanted after you traded RJ Barrett to Toronto for him. Outstanding defense and efficient scoring. Josh Hart, rebounding, energy, timely perimeter shooting. That also does not go without a little bit of stress, because the Knicks did suffer a fairly significant injury during that series.
Yeah, Mitchell Robinson, and he underwent surgery on a broken right pinky finger. Current status, expected to play in game 1, will wear a protective brace, which is important because the front court depth behind Karl Anthony Towns' availability could be critical against Wembanyama's size and length. NBA Finals keys to watch for the entire series. Matchup of the series is Stephon Castle and Jalen Brunson. Castle successfully bothered Anthony Edwards and SGA. Now he'll draw the toughest assignment of his career against one of the NBA's premier playoff performers. How the Spurs win? Victor Wembanyama must be dominant. The Knicks present game show at 2:40. We got some other news that we want to get to throughout the day. When we come back in the noon hour, 7 teams likely to package for Tarek Skubal. Who are those teams? Why are we bringing it up? Are the Mets involved? Is that why we're bringing it up?
Yeah.
Probably not. Before we get to that, though, we got to get to the sports thread. What's going on what's going on besides baseball?
You know that group chat, the one that's always blowing up with the biggest sports takes, debates, and breaking news?
You got barbecue back there, and you didn't invite me?
Yeah, we've got that too. Welcome to the Sports Thread, where we break down the top 5 stories in sports, just like you would with your crew.
Oh, no! Disaster! What a bad idea!
No filters, no silence, just real talk.
All right, Frank, what we got going on today in the sports world?
As we say during our show open, I was looking for stories for the show, and I stumbled upon the college page for the last segment.
The gift that keeps on giving, college athletics.
It is. It really was the gift that keeps on giving. So it's going to be very college heavy today.
Number one.
On the sports thread. The Big 12, your Big 12, is taking officiating transparency to the next level this football season by allowing fans to hear and see the replay review conversations during select games. The move follows a successful rollout by the ACC last year and is designed to give viewers a better understanding of how controversial calls are made in real time. Conference officials believe the added access will improve fan trust, providing more entertainment value during reviews, and help address skepticism surrounding officiating in an era where sports betting has become increasingly prevalent. Should all major college football conferences, even the NFL, adopt live replay review audio, or just revealing too much of the officiating process create different problems?
Why would that create a different problem? I understand. I mean, like, that's like every time. I thought, because they did this in the XFL first, so they're going to you're going to be able to hear what these replay guys are talking about in the Big 12.
Yep. The XFL did it. Then it was the British Premier League did it.
I want to, you know what? When the XFL did it, first of all, they had some dude that I was like, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. He was like a guy that looked like he had just no idea what he's talking about. But I believe the original XFL did this too. But at least when they do this for the replays, I would love to see baseball do it. At least you can hear why they decided to do that.
100%.
And at least from that perspective, you could be like, all right, I can see that makes sense. But right now, the whole like, call in the field stands, and then they move on, or call in the field. And like you get in football, it's different. They actually give you some type of an explanation. Baseball just goes like, it stands safe, and they walk on, and people lose their mind. This transparency gives you the argument of why they decided to do that, or why they made that decision. And I think it's going to be very educational for a lot of fans. I appreciate that more. It's either they're going to expose themselves on a sense that they have no idea what they're talking about and they don't know the rule, which is what they would be afraid of, or they're going to give you the perspective of what they are seeing in real time. I like that a lot more.
Yes, I agree with that.
Number two.
Almost forgot the gimmick. The NCAA is fighting a lawsuit from Braden Surprenant that seeks to restore his eligibility after he admitted to placing more than 9,000 bets totaling $90,000 during his college career. According to court filings, Sorsby wagered on teams from schools he attended, including football and basketball programs at Indiana University and the University of Cincinnati, though he maintains he never bet on games in which he played or attempted to influence outcomes. Sorsby agrees. Sorsby argues.
Thanks, Pete Rose.
Yeah, exactly. Sorsby argues his diagnosed gambling addiction and completion of treatment should be considered mitigating factors, while the NCAA insists that allowing an athlete who bet on his own school's teams to return would undermine the integrity of college sports and set a dangerous precedent. Should the NCAA make exceptions for athletes who violate gambling rules because of documented addiction and treatment, or must the penalties remain absolute to protect the integrity of the game? This really worked. This argument really worked out for Pete Rose.
If he said he made like 2 or 3 bets at a horse race, I would have been like, all right,
you guys are being ridiculous.
This is ridiculous. Or like, you know, he bet on an English Premier Soccer game or something like that, like one time a long time ago. Fine. But then he was like, he bet 9,000 times.
At least,
wagered $90,000 in total.
So this is,
and it gets better. And he was doing it in college sports. Okay, well, at least it's not football. Oh, and then he was doing it in college football. It's like, and then it's like, well, at least it's not his team. And it's like, and then he was doing it on college football, Indiana football games on the team that he was on. It's like, what? we want to let this guy play football again?
This is from Justin Williams on May 29th in The Athletic. An online sports book initially tipped off the NCAA to Sorsby's extensive gambling after the book had been approached by law enforcement, according to the opposition response, which was filed Friday by the NCAA and obtained by The Athletic ahead of Monday's temporary injunction. It was previously unknown how and why the NCAA began its investigation into Sorsby's gambling history earlier this year. According to the NCAA's latest filing, Sorsby made at least 40 bets on Indiana football in some capacity from September 2nd, 2022 to October 22nd of 2022, when he was a member of the Hoosiers, totaling at least $850. During 2 seasons at Indiana, he also placed at least 40 bets totaling more than $1,400 on Indiana men's basketball and roughly 300 bets totaling at least $6,500 on college football unrelated to Indiana.
It's a pretty simple rule that most athletes have to follow, and it's don't bet on sports. I don't know why we're trying to make this work out for this kid. I mean, there's no reason this kid should be playing football anymore. At all. At all. But, I mean, here's a question for you. Does he make all these bets if he's not making NIL?
Probably not.
He probably won't have the money to do it, right? I mean, if I keep getting told from all these people all the time, the college athletes, I can't afford to buy a sandwich. If you can't afford to buy a sandwich, he ain't dropping $90,000 on bets. Kidding me?
It's amazing. This is why
Is it fair? Is it fair for his college career to be over because he had to make a couple of bets?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely. What are we doing?
I just.
What are we doing?
And again, this is why making gambling legal was good, because the sports book tipped off the NCAA. So this is good for making gambling illegal.
Number 3.
Making gambling legal. Sorry. Good for making gambling legal. More legal trouble. The NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell has been called to testify before Congress about whether the league's television and streaming deals are making it harder and more expensive for fans to watch games.
There we go.
Lawmakers are examining whether or not the NFL's longstanding antitrust exemption, granted back in 1961, still makes sense in an era where games are spread across traditional networks, streaming services, and subscription platforms. While the NFL argues most games remain available on free broadcast television and that local markets can still watch their teams for free, critics contend that fans now need multiple subscriptions to follow the league fully, raising questions about accessibility and customer cost. Has the NFL gone too far in chasing media revenue through streaming and subscription services, or is this simply a reality of how sports broadcasting must evolve in the modern era?
I think the NFL is taking advantage of the fact that they could put all these different outlets out there for streaming and make people have to pay for it. They're doing, I mean, it's legal for them. They're just trying to make as much money as possible. And this is why I argued 10 years ago now that streaming was going to be bad. Okay. Because it's so cheap. It's great. It's like $3 or I just signed into my parents' cable account. This is great. It's free. It's awesome. Is it free and awesome? Is it going to continue to be free and awesome? Give me a break. This is what millennials created.
It's free, man.
Yeah. Is it still free? I mean, it was fine when it was just on cable. It was fine. It was fine like that.
We don't really have time to get into the other two here. So it's basically Shai Gilgeous-Alexander called his MVP season a failure because they lost in Game 7.
Hey, you know what? That's a guy that wants to win a championship. I applaud that. Good for him.
And Team Finland captured its 5th IIHF Men's World Championship in hockey on Sunday, defeating host Switzerland, as Canada actually didn't even medal in that game. And the IIHF, Crosby was on Team Canada, so it wasn't like an amateur thing. It was all professionals that weren't playing in the NHL playoffs currently. So congratulations to Finland on that.
Did those guys ever not play hockey?
Seemingly not. No.
I mean, even with the season that Crosby had and in the Olympics and like how his body is beat up, like, did they ever take a break?
Connor McDavid was on that team.
Oh,
They
my
just
God.
They did not nail it.
7 teams that could trade for Tarek Skubal. How they would do it, we'll explain when we come back.
San Diego. No warm-up needed. If it matters in this city, you're hearing about it right here.
The Michael King contract, super creative. I think it's a great win for the Padres.
Real opinions, real takes, no wasted time.
It has been the little things that have outdone San Diego State, and that's where they got to improve.
Live and local on 97.3 The Fan. The Braden Surprenant Show starts now.
New 7 hour of The Fan. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. It's the Braden Surprenant Show. San Diego Urban Sports Station, 97.3 The Fan. Enjoy the YouTube chat, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good time there.
Do not tap the glass.
The best part is I kind of peek at it every once in a while, but then it gets to when did we start talking about Tom Brady? I don't know. Did we talk about the Patriots in the sports thread? Would I miss something? Where's Nate? Why isn't Nate contributing to the why isn't he contributing to
this is
the New England Patriots conversation?
Oh
man.
My gosh, dude.
So great.
Our Facebook chatter is back.
One of.
Oh no. Oh, I thought it was Anthony. I'm sorry.
No.
I saw a long name. I thought it was I assumed. That's what happens when you assume. You make an ass out of yourself. We have not yet seen a report on what's happened with Jace Bowen. We do not know yet.
We don't have a lineup yet either.
No,
right?
we do not. We do not have a lineup.
It might take a little bit longer to get a lineup out there. They usually wait until the roster is set. So we'll see what the court. I also have not seen. And maybe I got to pull up Twitter. I mean, you just talked to Dave, right?
Yes, I did.
So
Dave was very rude.
I'm on Dave's side.
I'm on Dave's side.
I'm always on Dave's side.
I'm on Dave's side too.
You're not gonna win. You're not gonna win many battles if it's just you versus Dave. I think most people here support Dave. No offense, Frank.
Oh no, I support Dave in that battle too.
Frank goes, I don't board out Padre games anymore. You can't tell me what to do. And Dave's like, you want to see? What did he say? His comment was so great.
He texted me to check the timeline, so we know we are connected and we are set and ready to go for Padre baseball starting at 3:30 here. He texted me to check the timeline. I said, I do not primarily work Padre games anymore. You cannot tell me what to do. He goes, want to bet? I'm like, no, I'm good.
That's what it was. Want to bet?
I'm like, no, I'm good.
Oh,
I'm all good.
So good. So Dave's there, which means like they usually go on like the first team, but the team's probably there already. Obviously, it's noon.
Yeah.
I would imagine the clubhouse probably opens relatively soon. I hadn't checked the Padres PR.
They don't update too often, to be fair.
They sometimes do. Where's my search button?
It's like for big news and big stuff.
No, I'm talking
like
about
that.
like when the clubhouse is open. Clubhouse is open today at 3:35 Eastern.
Oh,
so the
in a
clubhouse
half
is going to
hour.
open in a half hour, and you're going to know very quickly who is on this team and who is not on this team.
Yeah. So
Because they're going to right.
We'll know before the end of the hour.
All right. So 12:35 is the target time for when the clubhouse is open to the media. So we'll be dialed in on Kevin Acee and whoever else, AJ Cassavell and whoever else, Dennis Lynn traveled on this trip.
I wonder. Oh, okay. That makes sense. They're following Major League Baseball and the Padres. Those are the only two accounts that the Padres PR account is following.
Squirrel.
You can follow it too at Padres PR.
I thought it was it's not a private account anymore.
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, dude, you're about to get us in trouble. I don't think you were allowed to follow that. I remember I had to request permission to follow that. Nice job. Better hit the dump button. Good job, Frank.
That's just me. Here to screw everything up.
Where's the Kirby enthusiasm?
Yeah, that's I was actually on the that's the
Whoops. Sometimes I think you should think before you start talking.
I didn't realize it was a thing.
Maybe they changed. I don't know, but that was fun. 7 teams that might potentially trade for Tarek Skubal. You have the list in front of you, Frank. Jim Bowden wrote an article about this yesterday or earlier this morning. Very interesting. to see this article play out. Obviously, where we're at right now in the baseball world, I would imagine Tarek Skubal is the number one commodity on the open market this year. And the more the Tigers lose, the more likelihood that Tarek Skubal in a rental year, right? It's a contract year, will get moved. I think there is some risks, though, when it comes to Tarek Skubal because of the fact that he has missed some time with an injury, and you would have to give up a lot for Detroit to acquire Tarek Skubal. And the risk is, is he healthy? Is he still the same player before he got hurt? And how much am I willing to go all in just for 3 months? Not even, because the trade deadline is August, 2nd or 3rd?
It's August 3rd.
You get 2 months in the playoffs, maybe with him.
We're 62 days away from the MLB trade deadline. By the way, it is 6-2, which means happy Año de los Santos Day.
Happy Año de los Santos Day. I don't think a lot of people are celebrating that day.
It was yesterday, by the way, was Chan Ho Park Day, Luis Perdomo Day, and of course, Matt Waldron Day.
They exchanged Año de los Santos for Brandon Lockridge, that then got flipped to Jorge Quintana and Nestor Cortez. Not a bad list of trades right there for AJ Preller.
We're going to be missing Denilson Lamet Day. We will be off on Denilson Lamet Day. That's Thursday.
Anyway, so Tarek Skubal most likely will get moved. And the question is, are you willing to give up a lot to potentially have him on your team? Jim Bowden says these 7 teams are likely part of this situation. Team number 1, who he says is the most logical and, maybe not logical, but the biggest fit is number 1 on the list, Frank.
Oh, I thought you were doing the whole...
Go ahead.
I thought you were going to say it. We'll throw the music on. Why not? Number 1 on this list would be the Los Angeles Dodgers. Despite farm system, the deepest farm system of the group, especially in the outfield, the Tigers could demand some top outfield prospects like Zaire Hope, Josue De Paula, Eduardo Quintero, James Tibbs III, or Mike Sirota. I'm surprised the list didn't go on. Plus a starting pitcher such as Emmett Sheehan, Justin Wroblewski, preferred, fallback of River Ryan, or Christian Zazueta. Sure. And a third piece, Wroblewski could immediately help Detroit's rotation. Dodgers can afford to deal without gutting their entire farm system. So the prophecy being fulfilled effectively.
I think the owners are secretly hoping that
please, for the love of God,
Dodgers
please.
Dodgers acquired Tarek Skubal. The Players Association is I don't know, that would really not help us out too much. I think the Dodgers are the strongest fit for Tarek Skubal. It's just a matter of whether or not they do it. They have the means to do it. This is the whole reason why we have the argument that we talked about for the first hour of the show in the first place, is for things like this. But I don't want to spend too much time on the Dodgers. Sleeper favorite comes in at number 2, according to Jim Bowden.
Tampa Bay Rays have a very good chance. They have a loaded farm system and a smart front office. Eric Neander, your current general manager, package of top prospects such as Theo Guillen, right-handed pitcher Anderson Brito and Ty Nichols, plus shortstop Victor Valdez. The Rays often make under-the-radar moves for stars. This could set the Tigers up. This could set up the Tigers' future while giving the Rays a shot at the World Series. This is not an under-the-radar move by any means.
I think it's the best spot. I think it's the best spot. First of all, it's the greatest spot for the Padres because they're on the other side of the coast and they're in the other league, so you don't have to deal with Tarek Skubal.
And you will have played them already.
But I look at the Tampa Bay Rays as that would be a great landing spot for Tarek Skubal, because for the Rays, they continue to load up on farm team pieces all the time. And the best part for the Rays is a rental for 3 months or 2 months of the playoffs is exactly what the Rays need, because they're not going to have to pay him for a long period of time. And then they won't sign him, to a long-term deal. And I think if they if they think they're one pitcher away, which I think they are because the American League is not very good. They tried for Tarek Skubal. They're the odds-on favorite to win the American League if they aren't already with the start that they have had to the season. I think that's the perfect fit for Tampa at the deadline. And it seems like a really good fit that could match with Detroit.
Yeah, for sure. Next up, the Chicago Cubbies, who the Padres will be playing to close out this month. Mix of MLB ready and prospects. Infielder Matt Shaw, utility everyday potential, positional flexibility for AJ Hinch. Outfielder Kevin Alcantara, right field contender, and Dominic Reed. It's a balanced return that helps immediately and also has future upside for Detroit.
I just don't like for the Cubs. They're so decimated by injuries and starting pitching. And I know they can slug and they've hit the ball really hard, but they have been struggling in the last couple of weeks or so. I don't think the Cubs, like, to me, a team that would be able to acquire this player is somebody that is a pitcher away. I don't think the Cubs are just one pitcher away. I know they're getting, what's his name back? One of their pitchers is coming back, and I forget his name off the top of my head. But
it's not Matthew Boyd. I said his name right.
Yeah, it is Matthew Boyd. I was like, what do you mean it's not Matthew Boyd? Yeah, Matthew Boyd's coming back for the Cubs.
Oh, it is Matthew Boyd. Oh, okay.
Yes. Steele's not, or whatever.
Okay.
I just don't think it's going to be enough for the Cubs. I think it's a major risk for maybe them. So I don't see that one really likely happening. Number 4, though, everybody's trading their players to number 4, aren't they?
Yeah, the New York Yankees, because why not? Unlikely to give up top pitching prospects, LaGrange Rodriguez, or top infielders for rentals. Realistic would be right-handed pitcher Ben Hess. Post-injury medicals are key. Spencer Jones, high power and speed, high K upside. Yankees might pursue a long-term extension for Skubal.
Yeah, pairing Skubal with the top of that rotation in October is very enticing, I think, for the New York Yankees. I never trust really the Yankees prospects. No, I really don't.
They've spent
I know the Padres are benefiting from 2 Yankees prospects, in particular, and Randy Vasquez and Michael King, who was a Yankees prospect, but both of those guys had made it to the major leagues by the time they got acquired by the Padres. So I don't know. I don't really have too much trust in that. I think the Yankees are in on anybody because they're the Yankees, even though they're not as much as the Yankees of the past as the Dodgers are, if that makes sense.
You can say the same exact thing about the next competitor here, the San Diego Padres. AJ Preller loves to take big swings, i.e. Soto and Miller. Could offer 1 or 2 top pitching prospects such as Cruz Schoolcraft or Cash Mayfield and Miguel Mendez. Position players Jorge Quintana, catcher Ty Harvey, outfielders Braden Carpathios and Ryan Weidman. Extreme circumstance would be Ethan Salas straight up if the Padres go all in. And of course, the only reason why they're in on this is because AJ Preller is insane.
AJ Preller likes to take those big swings, like you mentioned. They're an aggressive wild card to this group. I mean, we talked about this during the break, and we'll take a deeper dive into this when we come back. I do not rule out the Padres on anybody anymore. If they're good and they're up for trade, you will see we'll see what AJ Preller's doing. And AJ Preller usually makes deals that the fact that this is talked about so much makes me not believe it as much because of the fact that AJ Preller makes all these deals for players that you didn't even know were available.
Yeah, and he's usually sneaky about it when he comes. It's not really one of those, like, it's telegraphed for months that Preller is going to get this guy.
Right, and according to Jim Bowden, former general manager, for somebody who says, like, the Padres don't have enough, he said either Ethan Salas straight up for a rental of Skubal. I'm out on that. Yeah. And then he said 1 to 2 top prospects for pitchers with 1 position player. They obviously have enough because he's listed like 7 to 8 guys that they could potentially trade to Detroit for 2 months of Tarek Skubal. We'll talk more about the Padres in the next segment when it comes to this. They do have enough. At this point, and here's what people need to understand about trades. You don't know what they have because you don't know how the Detroit Tigers evaluate the Padres farm system. That needs to be said every trade deadline. Because every time people just go off of what the top 30 prospects are in Major League Baseball, according to MLB.com, and that's not what the scouting departments show. They have different scouting department. They have different notes on different players, and everybody's top 30 prospects differ for every team. We'll talk about the Padres in a little bit. Sleeper team, number 6.
The team you find in your own division, the Arizona Diamondbacks. Strong position player depth. Package of top infielder Tommy Troy, J.D. Dix, or Demetrio Crisantes. Plus 2 top pitching prospects such as Daniel Egan, Dave Hageman, or Patrick Forbes. Unlikely to include a shortstop like Kason Cunningham or an outfielder like Slade Caldwell. They do have a history of ace chasing. Do the Arizona Diamondbacks see Kurt Schilling, see Randy Johnson, see Zach Greinke, see Corbin Burns?
I mean, they could. They need pitching. I just don't see the Diamondbacks really pulling the trigger on this.
No,
I just don't.
I don't see them hanging around long enough, honestly.
They're good. I mean, they are
good.
I just don't think their pitching is going to hold up to the point where they can make this move, but we'll see. They did beat the Dodgers yesterday.
Finally on this list, the Toronto Blue Jays, toughest path, unless they include top shortstop prospect JoJo Parker plus left-handed pitcher Johnny King, or both right-handed pitchers Gage Stanford and Nolan Perry. Arjun Nimala could factor in as well. Rays were close to winning a World Series recently. Skubal could push them over the top, but it would cost their best prospects.
I mean, the Jays are 2 games under 500, but they're in a wild card spot. I mean, that's what's going to make this deadline weird. I mean, if you look at the standings, the Rays are 2 games better or a couple games better than the Guardians is the division leader. Seattle's leading the division at 32-29. Your wild cards right now are the Yankees at 36-23, the White Sox at 32-28, and the Blue Jays and Rangers tied for the final spot, 29-31. A's are a half game back out of a wild card spot at 28-31. Baltimore's a game back. I mean, the Boston Red Sox are 3 games out of a wild card spot. They're 25-33. And all of those teams have a negative run differential with the exception of the Rangers, who are +8. That makes the trade deadline interesting because when you first mentioned the Blue Jays and I was looking at the sheet, I'm like, they're not going to be good enough to trade for anybody at the deadline, but they have a wild card spot right now, 2 games under 500. I think the American League's going to balance itself out. I think you're starting to see some of that now with less teams below 5, but until they get all 3 wild card teams above 500, it's going to be tough to see what they do. Mm-hmm. It would.
Yeah, so I mean, it's overall notes for this. The Tigers' leverage depend on Skubal's health and recovery from his May elbow surgery and his 2026 record. Realistic haul will be multiple top 100 to 200 prospects with at least 1 MLB contributor. Market is heating up. Dodgers, Yankees, Padres, and Jays are often mentioned in the broader rumors, but the Tigers must decide to rebuild aggressively or risk losing Skubal for a compensatory pick in free agency.
If the Tigers were closer to contention, I would say you keep them to make the run, but they're not. I can't believe how poor they've been to the point of I didn't even realize
lost their whole rotation.
Did you know they're in dead last in the American League?
I did not know that.
They're 23-38. They're tied with the Angels for the worst record in the American League, which is, by the way, the worst record in all of baseball.
And that's their entire starting rotation going down.
Right. I mean, that happens. The Tigers are the worst team in all of baseball. Why did the Padres have to open up with them? Again, that's why it's like it's not who you play, it's when you play them. If the Padres played the Tigers this week, they would have probably swept the Tigers.
Mm-hmm.
But they got him at the first when everybody's healthy at the beginning of the year.
Opening salvo.
Yeah. Terrible. It's not who you play, it's when you play them. Tigers are the worst team in baseball right now. The Padres have already played all 4 teams of the worst 4 teams in baseball. They played the Giants, 2 of them in their division, the Giants and the Rockies. They got the Angels, the Tigers. 2 spots above that's the Boston Red Sox, who are 25-33.
We got to go to break. I just got the watch from Adam.
Yeah, we do. When we come back, we'll talk about the Padres and what they would have to do to give up, or in order to get Tarek Skubal. Talk about that next. This week in motorsports belonged to the veterans at Nashville. It was Denny Hamlin who overcame an early penalty after jumping the start, dove back through the field, and led a Joe Gibbs Racing sweep of the podium for his 62nd career NASCAR Cup Series victory. In the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, Justin Allgaier held off teenage sensation Brent Cruz in one of the best battles of the season, earning his 4th win of 2026 and continuing his championship defense. The Truck Series delivered late race drama, while Lane Riggs completed a stunning comeback and made a last lap pass to grab the Nashville Guitar Trophy and the series points lead. And in IndyCar, Alex Palou kept building his legacy. A 4-time champion, won again in Detroit, his 4th victory in 8 races, extending his championship lead and putting himself on track for a record time 4th straight title. The big question, can someone stop Alex Palou before this season turns into one of the most dominant championship runs we've ever seen? This week was packed with drama across NASCAR and IndyCar, from a dominant night for Joe Gibbs Racing in Nashville to another masterclass from IndyCar champion leader Alex Palou in Detroit. We also saw emotional victories, hard racing, late race strategy gambles, and some major championship implications as the summer racing season starts heating up. We'll start in NASCAR, the Cup Series. Hamlin overcomes early penalty for Nashville victory.
Yeah, one of the biggest stories from Nashville Superspeedway was veteran driver Denny Hamlin turning adversity into victory. Hamlin started from the pole, but immediately put himself behind the 8 ball by jumping the start in one of the most egregious jump starts I have personally ever seen, serving a pass-through penalty. Instead of letting his mistake ruin his night, the Joe Gibbs veteran methodically worked his way back through the field and capitalized on a late restart to score his 2nd win of the season and 62nd of his Hall of Fame career. Even more impressive was the fact that Joe Gibbs Racing swept the podium, with Christopher Bell finishing 2nd and Chase Briscoe finishing 3rd, all 3 of them diving into turn 1 on the final lap 3 wide. Pretty insane to see. The race itself was chaotic. Brake failures plagued multiple drivers throughout the evening, including A.J. Allmendinger, Ross Chastain, and rookie Connor Zilich. Late race cautions repeatedly shuffled the field and created a frantic finish. One of the biggest flashpoints came when Brad Keselowski was spun into the wall after contact with Austin Dillon, leading to the RFK Racing camp, questioning whether or not the move was intentional based off of an earlier wreck involved. It's a checkered flag flew. Hamlin emerged on top, proving once again why he remains one of NASCAR's most dangerous veterans, and now finds himself 1 win off tying Kyle Busch's career high.
NASCAR O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, Allgaier holds off a rising star. Saturday night's O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race delivered one of the best battles of the season. Defending series champion Justin Allgaier earned his 4th victory of 2026, but it wasn't easy. Veteran had to fend off 18-year-old rookie sensation Brent Cruz in a thrilling side-by-side duel during the closing laps. Cruz led a career-high 45 laps and looked poised to earn a breakthrough victory before Allgaier's experience finally prevailed. The win carried extra emotion. During his celebration, Allgaier paid tribute to late NASCAR champion Kyle Busch by recreating Busch's signature Nashville victory celebration. Meanwhile, Cruz continues to establish himself as one of the brightest young talents in stock car racing. Even in defeat, his performance may have been one of the most impressive stories of the weekend. Let's get to the Truck Series.
Yep, the Craftsman Truck Series produced perhaps the most emotional finish of the weekend, with Lane Riggs dominating the early stages and then had to claw his way back through the field after varying pit strategies shuffled the running order. On the final lap, Riggs used fresher tires and a crucial push from teammate Chandler Smith to pass defending Nashville winner Raja Karuth and secure his third win of the season. The victory also moved Riggs into the Craftsman Truck Series championship lead. Caruth's runner-up finish was emotional as well, as he was driving the truck originally intended for Kyle Busch to drive this weekend, and many fans were hoping to see that truck return to victory lane as a tribute to the late champion. Instead, Riggs delivered a dramatic comeback and one of the season's most memorable victories.
Let's get to IndyCar, or they continue the championship, or Pelot continues the championship domination over in Detroit. They finally started to stop racing in Indianapolis for the last 3 weeks. But over in Detroit, one storyline continues to define the 2026 IndyCar season, the dominance of Alex Pelot. First-time series champion, captured his fourth victory in just 8 races this season, surviving a caution-filled street race and several strategic challenges to win the Detroit Grand Prix. Pelot led 71 of 100 laps and once again demonstrated why he is considered the benchmark of the series. Kyle Kirkwood finished second and pushed Pelot hard throughout the closing stages, but a couple of unfortunate caution periods prevented him from fully capitalizing on his tire advantage. The win extends Pelot's championship lead to 62 points, giving him more than a full race worth of breathing room in the standings. At this point, the question isn't whether Pelot is the championship favorite. The question is whether anyone can stop him from tying the all-time record with a 4th consecutive IndyCar title. Looking ahead, Frank, what do we got coming up this weekend?
The O'Reilly Auto Parts Series is going to take a rare weekend off before heading to the Pocono Mountains in Pocono, Pennsylvania at the Pocono Raceway on June 13th. The NASCAR Cup Series and Truck Series continue to build momentum as the summer approaches. They will both be at Michigan in the Irish Hills of Brooklyn, Michigan, coming up this weekend. Meanwhile, IndyCar heads to Worldwide Tech Raceway at Gateway for the Bommarito Auto Group 500, where teams will try to slow down the seemingly unstoppable Alex Pelot. Formula One also in action this weekend, as they will host their crown jewel event, the Monaco Grand Prix, on the streets of Monte Carlo. So you got Michigan.
The Fan. All right. Jim Bowden put out an article talking about the 7 teams that could potentially trade for Tarek Skubal. Title was, Who Will Trade for Tarek Skubal? Breaking down the Tigers' 7 best options. These are the best options for the Tigers. Number 5 on the list was the San Diego Padres. And the expert on the Padres was Padres president of baseball operations, A.J. Preller, always in on acquiring superstar players when they become available and is never afraid to trade his top prospects to acquire these types of players, as he did with Juan Soto, Mason Miller. Therefore, he'll probably be willing to dangle at least one of his top pitching prospects and maybe even 2. He mentions all of them. He could perhaps combine one of those pitchers with some position players. Preller might even consider offering his top prospect if he can get a deal done straight up, and he feels like he could win a title this season. Padres should not be ignored if there is a Skubal sweepstakes. But does it make sense for the Padres? To me, I don't know, based on where the Padres are at and based on what they have in their farm system, if it's worth for the Padres to trade for Tarek Skubal for 2 months. It's 2 months and whatever October lies. I think the first thing you got to look at when you're a team that's willing to trade for Tarek Skubal is my team one pitcher away from winning a World Series? I think you got to ask yourself that question first. I don't think the Padres are one pitcher away from winning a World Series, but I will say this. I mean, you add Tarek Skubal to the Padres starting rotation, at least with a starting pitcher, you got a better chance of winning if he dominates than if you have a position player that dominates, right? Like when the Padres acquired Juan Soto could hit 3 home runs in a game and you can lose. Tarek Skubal could throw 7 shutout innings and you could still lose. But that being said, it's less likely to happen. So I don't think the Padres are one pitcher away from being a World Series winner. I really don't. Not enough to give up a guy like Ethan Salas. And the other thing, too, is, and I've talked about this, and now, I mean, you think about where he is at. I mean, Tarek Skubal's 30 years old. The only reasoning you would trade for Skubal is if it's somewhat guaranteed that you'd be able to re-sign Skubal, which I think a lot of people bring up. But I don't even really know if that's worth it compared to, like, for how much money he's going to get, for how old he is. It's a risk. You're taking a risk either way. The Padres in particular already have aging players on long-term contracts. I know that you're not going to have a ton of, I mean, you don't really know what your rotation is next year, like at all. But I look at the Skubal situation. I view Tarek Skubal for the Padres as a luxury they can't afford. To be honest, that's how I look at it. If you want to pair some of these, starting pitcher prospects down in single A, or if you want to put, players, and trade some position players out there, maybe. But I don't think that to be like worth the case. All right. Well, we have a roster move, Frank.
Oh, it came down 5 minutes early.
Yeah.
Son of a gun.
They dropped it before they allowed anybody in the clubhouse. It's very interesting. It's kind of close to
give the people something to talk to.
Yeah,
We'll talk about it.
It's kind of close to what we said, just not fully.
Oh, that's not what was expected.
Well, it kind of is. It's like half.
Well, more
it's like
or less.
there.
Yeah,
we thought somebody might. I mean, somebody could go on the injured list, but we were right on the sense that Nick Pivetta has been shifted to the 60-day IL.
And again, the 60-day IL doesn't mean 60 days from today. It's 60 days. It's retroactive to when he first went on the 15-day IL. So he's not on the IL for 60 days from here. Same situation with Musgrove as well.
Correct. So the Padres have selected Jace Bowen from AAA El Paso, and they have replaced Ramon Laureano on the 10-day injured list, which is retroactive to May 31st. Right hip inflammation. They have transferred Nick Pivetta to the 60-day IL, and Bowen will wear number 4 for the Padres. They have also sent German Marquez to AAA El Paso on a rehab assignment.
He's wearing number 4?
Yeah.
Well, there goes our next segment. Padres, way to kill a segment before we even get it off the ground.
What was the next segment?
The segment that was built specifically for one listener.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Well, I guess he could wear a different number now, maybe. When we come back, we'll talk more about this roster move and what it means for the Padres, because we got to take a break. Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego Summer Sports Station 97 through the Fan. College sports might be heading toward its biggest turning point yet. A new bipartisan bill in Congress is trying to give the NCAA more power again, allowing it to enforce transfer limits, spending caps, and NIL regulations. Why? Well, because leaders across college athletics think the current system is spiraling out of control. At the same time, SEC leaders like Kirby Smart are openly talking about the possibility of the SEC creating its own rules or even breaking away entirely. And honestly, that idea doesn't sound impossible anymore. The SEC and Big Ten already dominate financially, and the playoff expansion fights are creating even more tension between conferences. Can college sports stay united under the NCAA, or are we moving toward a future where the biggest conferences completely split off and run the sport themselves? A bipartisan group of U.S. senators has introduced one of the most significant college sports reform bills we have seen in years. The proposed legislation, called the Protect College Sports Act, was crafted by Senators Ted Cruz and Maria Cantwell and aims to restore some authority back to the NCAA after years of legal challenges and NIL chaos. The bill would give the NCAA limited antitrust protection, allowing it to enforce several rules that courts have weakened in recent years. And those proposed rules include limiting athletes to one penalty-free transfer, capping eligibility at 5 years, preventing former professional athletes from competing in college sports, and restricting schools from hiring coaches away from another program during that team season.
The legislation would also provide legal backing for the new College Sports Commission to enforce spending caps tied to athlete revenue sharing. Frank, as I go through a lot of these things that are in this bill, I hope it passes because these are the rules that the NCAA has lacked for the last decade plus when it comes to balancing and evening the playing field. There's so many rules in college athletics, especially football, that just don't make any sense. And unless they get some limited antitrust protection, none of these rules ever hold up in the court of law, which gives the NCAA the biggest problem that they have had in this new era of NIL.
Yeah, the new era of NIL has ushered in effectively a runaway freight train as far as college athletics, more specifically football, is concerned. At the heart of this bill is an attempt to slow down what many leaders believe has become an unsustainable spending race in college athletics. Even though schools agreed to revenue sharing caps through the House settlement framework, many programs have reportedly found ways around those limits outside NIL collectives and business partnerships. Some estimates now place elite football roster spending at nearly $40 million annually. Supporters of the bill argue the current system is widening the gap between wealthy programs and everyone else. Boy, that sounds familiar, doesn't it? The concern is especially strong among conferences outside the Big Ten and the SEC, which continue to dominate financially because of their massive television contracts, where Maria Cantwell described the bill as an effort to stop college sports from becoming, quote, a runaway arms race.
I just look at this in the sense, I mean, what college football, specifically college football, this is all about college football, to be honest with you. I mean, I know it's college athletics in general, and there's probably a couple of things mixed in, but the biggest problem right now is college football with a couple other sports that have been, close to college football in the last couple of years. They're doing this because of that. But it's the same as Major League Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the rich keep getting richer and unlimited spending and unlimited transfers, which means unlimited free agency. I mean, there's so much of that involved in these leagues right now, and money and greed is leading the way. It's leading to a worse product, not only in Major League Baseball, but here in college athletics. And there need to be rules in place in order to make this thing competitive and ultimately make more money for the entities at B. And I think being united on this is a lot better than going your separate ways. And in doing so, and trying to limit the spending and prevent some of the schools from outspending everybody, what you have to do, just like Major League Baseball is thinking about doing, is what the NFL collectively did a handful of years ago. And that was, we're going to pool our TV contracts together, and we're going to benefit. We're going to have everybody benefit from this, and it's ultimately going to make a more competitive environment. And that's exactly what's going to go on in college athletics. One of the most interesting pieces of this legislation involves conference television rights. The proposal would allow conferences to negotiate media deals collectively as one large group if enough schools agree to participate. The idea is to reduce the financial gap between conferences by sharing television revenue more evenly across college football. However, there is skepticism about whether the SEC or Big Ten would ever agree to give up the financial advantage they currently hold. In Major League Baseball, they've convinced the Dodgers, Mets, and Yankees to do that. Obviously, these power conferences, I don't know if it's going to be as easy of convincing. But the bill also attempts to stop future college conference realignment, expansion involving the SEC and Big Ten. They basically want to put all the rules back to what they were, the landscape to what it was. They're going to allow players to get paid, but you have a limited amount of resources you can use to make it fair, and you can't poach coaches. I mean, they basically are combining old college football and new college football with all the benefits of both, and are eliminating all the dumb rules, or should I say lack thereof, in the process.
No, absolutely. And it's because of this making the land flat again, is now the SEC is possibly thinking.
Bowen from AAA El Paso. They have placed Ramon Laureano on the 10-day injured list, which is retroactive to May 31st with right hip inflammation. And they have transferred Nick Pavetta to the 60-day injured list. Bowen will wear number 4. They've also sent Armand Marquez to AAA El Paso on a rehab assignment. A couple of different things to break down out of this. Okay, so We knew that they were going to select the contract of Jace Bowen, which means you needed to take somebody off the 40-man roster or move somebody to the 60-day IL. We got that correct. We thought Nick Pivetta was probably going to go to the 60-day injured list. The interesting thing to me, and here's what Kevin Acee tweeted out when it happened yesterday, when the word got out there, was it's probably going to be Bryce Johnson unless there's an injury. And so the injury takes effect at Ramon Laureano.
Well, Samanaga.
So Ramon Laureano is the injured Padre. So, I think the narrative of potential, like, does this team need a young spark, goes out the window because they needed somebody for an injured player. And, I don't think it's any phantom IL stuff, because if that was the case, why didn't they? It just doesn't make any sense.
No, and the Padres have done this so much this year now, because we talked about it as far as all the way back in spring training. They're talking about making decisions on guys, whether it be pitchers or fielders. They have not made a decision on any of them. I mean, Jose Miranda but he wasn't even a major leaguer. He was a guy who got a non-roster invite,
and he made his own decision, and he wasn't doing that well.
Right. Yeah. And he left. So the Padres have not made a decision on anyone, because when it's time for somebody to come up, they would someone's going to the IL, and now that frees up the spot, free decision now. So I think there are rules about finagling the injured list. I think someone might have sparked a red flag at some point, as far as the Padres are concerned. By this point,
I don't agree with that. But I look at this. I mean, the thing is if you were going to do something like that, which I don't think they did, I think Ramon Laureano is actually hurt.
No, I agree. I say he's 100% hurt.
I look at this and go, if they were going to do something like that, then they would have just sent, Song down. There's a cleaner way to do this, to like get Jace Bowen up, right?
Right.
More than just like having somebody on the injured list. So Ramon, he hadn't been playing very well either. So, and a lot of the time there's some things like this where the guy gets, sore and you get beat up, and, nobody is playing 100%. Nobody's 100% body wise at this point in the year, and nobody will be throughout the entire season. I mean, the only time you're going to feel 100% is opening day. And so sometimes you think it's just a nick or a pain or something like that, and you'd be able to, play through it. And sometimes you can, and sometimes you need some days off. And this is an opportunity to get Jace Bowen up from AAA. So they select the contract, and since they put Nick Pivetta on the 6-day injured list, Jace Bowen is now on the 40-man roster with this pickup. But with all of these moves, I would imagine Jace Bowen starts now in the outfield, obviously. But with all of these moves, again, with kicking the can down the road, I see I look at what's going to happen when these guys start coming back. Like Armand Marquez is on a rehab assignment.
Yeah, the clock for him has started. Who in the rotations next?
Right. And this is, again, like, there's nobody in the rotation right now that has like options. It's the same problem they're going to have. They're going to do the same thing with Matt Waldron, and they're going to do the same thing with a lot of these guys. I mean, they've honestly, to this point, they've done a really good job of kicking the can down the road, because I thought they were going to have to face this head on in April. It's June, it's June now, and they've been able to do this. It's pretty remarkable. But that's, these things usually have a way of working themselves out more times than not. But I would imagine that Armand Marquez, I mean, there is a situation where he's on the rehab assignment, and then they just DFA Armand Marquez if they don't like what they see down in AAA. It's going to be mostly strikeout to walks. But roster move was, I think, we got 2/3 of it correct. We got the Jace Bowen part, which is, was going to be a given. And we got the Nick Pivetta part. The Ramon Laureano on the 10-day injured list was a little bit interesting for me. But, the question that you brought up, which I think is interesting too, in the 40-man roster was, why would you add somebody to your 40-man
if it's only going to be for maybe 10 days.
Yeah.
And I think that's an interesting point. But you know what? Like here are your options. If you weren't going to do that, you would have to, as you mentioned off air, live with Gavin Sheets in the outfield for 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
Or Miguel Andujar's got to play a little bit more defensively. Or you bring up a Mason McCoy or Will Wagner, but both of those guys are infielders.
Well, no, right. So you bring up Mason McCoy or Will Wagner, let them sit on the bench while Andujar and Sheets take their turns out in left field.
I mean,
so you have that bench, so you still have that bench spot filled.
I mean, most of the time when you're pulling up guys like this, they're going to play a little bit. I mean, you could also pull up one of those guys and play second.
Yeah, could do that.
And then you could move, Fernando to right
back,
and then have Sheets, and then you don't have multiple guys.
Then why is Someone Song still up here? But that's another question for another time.
Well, you could have had,
you had other options.
But that's what based on the way that Mason McCoy and Will Wagner are playing, I know they're on the 40-man. Like Jace Bowen's outplayed both of them to the level where they have to add him to the 40-man roster.
He's also
to force the narrative.
That, and he's also Rule 5 eligible this offseason, so he's now protected from that now that he's on the 40.
Correct. So the other conversation with this, potential roster move, aside from the fact that like Mason McCoy and Will Wagner were like your only options to bring up without adding anybody to your 40-man roster, they what they can do. And what this is what I think is probably going to happen with the injury. I think this gives Bowen 10 days to see if he can outplay Bryce Johnson. That's what I think this is.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Because at this point, and we'll see how much they use Bryce Johnson, but you want to see what Jace Bowen could do at the big league level. And so by adding him to the 40-man roster, I mean, there's no inclination that because the whole thing was, why would you add somebody to your 40-man roster if he's only going to be up here for 10 days? I think it's a 10-day tryout to see if he can hang with the big leagues and hang with and basically be better than Bryce Johnson. And then maybe he is up here instead of Bryce Johnson when Ramon Laureano comes back.
Well,
or maybe that is the Castellanos question in 10 days.
Let's see what Bryce Johnson has done this year.
We talked about it yesterday. He's hit like $185. He's only played a handful of games.
So yeah, he's played in 5 games. Oh no, he's not. He's got 32 at bats, batting $188, 2 RBIs, 4 stolen bags, and scored 5 runs. So if that is the case, which I honestly
negative
have no
0.1 WAR when you factor in like defense and stuff,
which I have no reason to believe that that's not the case. You just hope that he bats better than $188 in 32 at bats, which in 10 days he should get 30 plus at bats.
I think you got to play a little bit slightly closer to like Bryce Johnson's like career numbers,
best, yeah.
But like if 2025 is such an outlier that it kind of skews his stats to a 233 average and a 590 OPS because he hit 342 last year with an 817 OPS.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, I don't know if you really want to keep a guy on your team that's hitting like 200, but the reality is if he hits over 200, he's already an upgrade to Bryce Johnson offensively. And I think you got to see how well he plays defensively. But I think this is a tryout for Bryce Johnson and for Jace Bowen, and I think they're going to pick between the two.
And for
Jace, my guess.
And for Jace Bowen, this starts his major league clock, I believe. He's got full options. He's protected from the Rule 5 draft because he's on the 40-man roster. So you have him now. He's here till at least 31, including the ARB years. So that this is. You don't really lose anything if Jace Bowen doesn't do what he's been doing down in the minor leagues.
I mean, he opted out of leaving Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing. Like he had been with Pittsburgh for so long that, I think he got drafted in 2019. So he had been in Pittsburgh for like 6 seasons. So, and he opted out because he wanted to be part of a winning organization. Padres picked him up on a minor league deal. and he's making his major league debut now. And not only is he making his major league debut, he'll be batting. They got the lineup out. He'll be batting. Was it 7th? And playing left field.
It's more or less where I had him. Yes, I had him batting 8th with Laureano.
Guess who's in right field today?
No. It's not Fernando.
It is Fernando.
Wow.
Fernando's back in right field today.
Who do they have at second then, Song?
Song hasn't played. Like, he has gotten 5 at-bats in the last, 8 games played. He needs to play. So maybe this is an opportunity to see Song play a little bit more, too.
And I know this is more of a spring training thing. They didn't give Jace Bowen number 72 either. He's number 4. So the Padres have the expectation that he's going to be around for a while.
So they're going to lead off with Fernando. He's going to play right field. They're going to go Gavin Sheets 2, play first. Manny bats 3rd, plays 3rd. Andy Hoare in the cleanup spot is the DH. Jackson Merrill bats 5th and is the center fielder. Xander Bogaerts bats 6th, the shortstop, batting 7th in left field is number 4, Jace Bowen. Sungwon Song will bat 8th and play second base, and Freddie Fermin will bat 9th and catch for Randy Vasquez. Interesting that Tatis is in right field again.
Yeah,
because he has almost played himself into an everyday second baseman based on his last month or so. We'll see if he hits today. Since he's not good at hitting when he plays the outfield.
If he goes 0 for 4 today, I'm sorry. Never take him off of second base again.
Put him back at second base. But I'm glad hopefully Song gets a lot more reps with it. Maybe they're gonna play Song a little bit more. The only way he's gonna get better is by playing.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to be able to adjust to major league pitching if he doesn't play.
And again, this is one of the guys to do it too. Nola was an ace back end of his career. He's got an ERA hovering around 6. This is one of your better chances to get him in playing games against a major league pitcher.
I think it's a very interesting lineup today. I think the roster move is interesting today. And I'm excited to watch Jace Bowen play today. I really am. I want to see what this kid's got because, he's 25 years old. He's still on the younger side. And if they were able to pick him up in the offseason on a minor league deal, that's another major win for AJ Preller. They did it with Gavin Sheets, did it with Ty France. I mean, those are players that already played Major League Baseball. So let's see what Jace Bowen's got.
And by the way, for everyone, because I saw it a million times in chat yesterday, it's Jase Bowen, not Jace.
Jace with an S.
Squirrel.
Thank you. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Let's get out to Dexter in Spring Valley. Dexter, what's going on, man?
Hey, guys. I'm calm now. And I'm hoping that this will mark the return of Draymond. And what I'm about to go with is targeted for all of my fellow Gen Xers out there who are into music. That last segment you were talking about with the 7 teams potentially wanting to do it or potentially doing a deal with the Tigers, they should have titled that 7 and the Ragged Tigers off of the Duran Duran album from '83. And with regards to the person who wrote that article and what he was talking about insofar as potential prospects being sent to the Tigers from the Padres, Cash and Cruz, he can't. No, because that's they're 2 really strong pitching prospects. I mean, Cash and Cruz, they're going to be CNC pitching factory because they're going to go out there and make the opponent sweat. So that's all that I've got. Thought I'd drop a couple deep pop music from the 80s and 90s puns and go Padres.
Dexter.
I think those would have hit a lot harder if Cash and Cruz weren't spelled with a K.
Yeah, that's also true. Boo. Zubat's booing you on Twitch. Boo. Hit him with the fouls.
Oh, boy.
He draws the foul.
Boo this man. Dexter's here to please. The Draymond Green of our callers.
Love you, Draymond.
Just hacking up fouls, dude. Nonstop. All right. When we come back in the 1 o'clock hour, we are going to talk a little bit about a player that the Padres might need to reunite with. Maybe.
We'll talk about that at 1.
Needs a new number now.
It needs a new number, potentially. And we'll also get to Brandon Carl's Bedweights on hold. 1 o'clock hour when we come back. 1 o'clock. Final hour of the Braden Surprenant Show, leading you into Gwynn and Chris, and then the Equal Water SoCal Padres pregame show with Sam Levitt at 2:40. Padres baseball at 3:40. Should be a great time. We were talking about, I hinted at the, maybe a former Padre you want to bring back, because Tom Krasnovic wrote an article about it. One reason the YouTube chat said, if the Braves weren't doing so well, I'd want Ha-Seong Kim back. Well, I don't know. Now, granted, it's only been 45 at-bats, but I said he hasn't really gotten off to a great start. He might actually be available, Juan. And then everybody looked up the numbers that Ha-Seong Kim has had in 45 at-bats. And it's not really going to help us too much, I don't think.
Shall
at this point in time. He missed the first couple of months, right? But, he's played 13 games.
Yes, he has.
And in 13 games, he's had 50 plate appearances, Frank. And what has he had done in the 50 plate appearances this season for the first place Braves?
See, I knew you were going to ask the question that really kind of ruined the whole thing. 4 hits, 4 runs scored.
Cool.
2 RBIs, walked 5 times. Got a stolen base.
Hey.
That's about it. That's all you really need to know.
Not that he has 14 strikeouts. No, or he's hitting 089.
No. You don't need to know anything else.
I didn't know you're the PR guy for Ha-Seong Kim as well.
Don't need to know anything else.
Are you his agent?
Listen, I like the guy. What do you mean? What do you want?
Negative 0.6 WAR. 089 batting average, 180 on base, and 089 slug for a 269 OPS. Do you want to know what his OPS plus is?
You may as well now.
Does everybody know what OPS plus is? Do I need to re-explain this?
Go for it.
Okay, so it's an adjustment for...
It's not necessarily what the Braves did. I think it's more what the Rays did to him.
It's an adjustment to the player's ballpark and everything like that. And basically, it signifies the OPS plus. It's a good kind of indication of how good a player is on an offensive side of things. League average is 100. If you are 101, you're 1% better than an average player. If you're 99, you're 1% worse than an average player. Ha-Seong Kim's OPS plus right now, negative 19. Negative 19 on the OPS plus. So he is, math.
That just means there's room for improvement.
Okay.
He can only go up. He's also stuck behind Mauricio Dubon and Ozzie Albies, so he's not getting everyday playing time. Things can change.
Yeah, he's 119% worse than an average Major League Baseball player.
Things can change. I don't think they're gonna, but they can.
I don't know why you haven't started your own PR firm at this point. You're already representing the Big Ten. You're representing the Power Act 12, and now you're representing Ha-Seong Kim.
I'm good at this, am I not? The answer to that is no.
Negative 19 OPS. I like this from the YouTube chat. Our guy B. Wilson out there. Freddie Fermin has a positive 19 OPS plus. So that means he's 38 points better than Ha-Seong. He's 38 better than Ha-Seong Kim is. I didn't know OPS plus could go negative either, especially with plus in the name. You would think you would get some benefit of the doubt right there. You couldn't be worse than 0, but apparently you can. So he's had a rough time to start the year.
We all learned something new.
If you want to factor in his tenure with the Braves, because he did finish the season last year with Atlanta after he started in Tampa, it's not much better. He's played in 37 games in a Braves uniform. His WAR is a negative 0.5. He's hitting 197 with a 543 OPS with 30 strikeouts and 13 walks. For Tampa, it wasn't much better. He's hitting 214 with a 612 OPS.
He was hurt a lot in Tampa.
Yeah, he was. But anyway.
That's not as Nate said, the professional contrarian firm. That's just fact. He was hurt quite a bit in Tampa.
SD Mike 87 in the YouTube chat. Is it OPS minus at this point? Well, yeah.
Well, no, it's a negative, so it counteracts the positive if you learn math. So it's just OPS now.
I mean, if you look at his career numbers, they're not knock your socks off in general.
No, but I mean,
he's more of a defensive player than anything else. I mean, his career batting average for the Padres was 242 with a 706 OPS. In his career, he's hitting 238 with a 691 OPS. Yeah, it's okay. I don't. You know what? I think we've convinced one that we don't need Hassan back.
I don't think it took this 6-minute exercise to have to do that either.
It's just not great. All right. Tom Krasovic has missed another Padre, though.
More like no PS.
Foul.
He draws the foul.
SD Mike in the chat. Why?
All right. Let's lock back in here. Okay. So Tom Krasovic in the UT. Love Tom. Like Tom writes some pretty good columns.
Nice guy, too.
Yeah, great guy. He wrote a column about the realistic possibility of the Padres reuniting with Luis Arraez via trade from San Francisco Giants before August 3rd, 2026, which is the MLB Trade Deadline. While not a guaranteed deal, several factors have aligned to make it a logical fit for both sides, according to Tom Krasovic. We might as well just bring back the entire team we had last year. The Giants situation is obviously bleak. They're sitting at a dismal 23-36 record as of late May, early June. And they are effectively eliminated from wild card contention. Buster Posey, new front office leader, signed Arraez to a one-year, $12 million contract in February with the team tanking. Posey has strong incentive to trade Arraez now while his value is high, especially since the Giants likely won't receive draft compensation if he walks in free agency after 2026. As the Padres are sitting at 32-26, they're fighting for a wild card spot. With one of the oldest rosters in Major League Baseball, A.J. Preller has a track record for aggressive in-season trades for veteran help using minor league pieces. The Padres have been among the league's worst offenses, particularly against right-handed pitching, which is something that Luis Arraez dominates. Now, strong bounce-back season after a down year last year. 3-time batting champion, has thrived as a high-contact, singles-oriented lefty hitter. Versus right-handed pitchers where Padres struggle the most. He's hitting 333 with a 380 on base and a 798 OPS, dramatically better than the Padres' MLB worst 217 average, 296 on base and a 663 OPS against righties. Excellent defense at second base. He went from being the worst defensive second baseman to being in the 99th percentile and outs above average.
Wait a minute. Did you say the Padres have a 217 batting average?
217 batting average against righties.
Oh, it's righties. I was going to say, how did they get a point worse after not playing a game?
It's like losing on a bye week.
It's like, how the heck did they do that?
You're a New York Giants fan. You know how that works.
Yeah, it's true.
So,
only the most talented of teams.
He has played excellent defense after focused work with infield coach Ron Washington. It's in the 99th percentile and outs above average. As a Padre, he was rated the worst defensive second baseman in all of baseball. He goes to work with Ron Washington. He's in the 99th percentile and outs above average. He can play a lot of different positions. Obviously, it increases his trade value in a matchup-heavy playoff environment. Upbeat personality. The clubhouse loves him, of course. Padres need an offensive need. Personality and chemistry is always great. Positional changes. Second base is currently occupied by Fernando, who could go back to right field. Potentially Jake Cronenworth, recovering from an April concussion-like symptoms. First base is handled by a Sheets France platoon. This could require creative lineup usage. Preller has personal rapport with Arraez. I mean, it sounded like the rumor was the Padres had offered him during the offseason, but he wanted to play second base. The Giants are going to be sellers. It's a 1-year deal up there in San Francisco.
So all of the things align to potentially make this happen. But my only counter to it is this, like, the player he is this year is the player that if he was last year or any year in a Padres uniform, at the end of the season, you wouldn't be like, yeah, we can't sign this guy. I mean, he's hitting 321. That is back to what Luis Ariz was a 321 hitter. You can survive with him not walking or hitting the ball over the fence when he's hitting 321. In a Padres uniform, he didn't do that. In a Padres uniform, he was hitting 290. He hit 299 in a Marlins uniform in 2024, and then he hit 292 in a Padres uniform last year. It's still very high, but at the same time, statistically, his worst seasons were in a Padres uniform compared to all the other places that he had been. And so the player that he was in San Diego was not the player that you wanted back for the next year. The player he is in San Francisco right now, yeah, you'll take him right now. With a 1.9 WAR and a 321 batting average and a 786 OPS. I mean, he's got the second highest OPS with the Giants than he had with any other team in Major League Baseball. Behind Miami, where he had an 834 OPS. Signing him to a long-term deal, probably not a great idea. Bringing him back for a couple of months, maybe at the trade deadline, if he continues to play like this, then yeah. But the reality is, Frank, like, this isn't the guy that was on your team last year. He has improved with the Giants. And if you're going to get this guy, then I'm not necessarily opposed to it. But if you're going to get the player that you had at the Padres, he's going to bat second every day and then not be very good defensively, I don't know why you would make that move. But if he's going to be this player, then yeah, sure. I'm all ears.
What, I just thought to do it, otherwise I'd have had it pulled up. What is his defensive runs saved or whatever that major
outs above average?
That sure.
His outs above average, according to Fangraphs, is in the 99th percentile. I'd love to know what that was last year. According to Baseball Savant. I would love to know what that was last year because he was, almost every single thing that came out he was like one of the worst he was the worst defensive second baseman in Major League Baseball. And the only guy that was, he was only, and the other person was Jake Cronenworth. They're like the two worst defensive players, which I also don't believe because I don't feel like Jake is a liability in the field when he plays in the field, but that's when you look at defensive metrics.
So he was in, I'm looking through, you can see the percentiles. 2024, he was in the first percentile. 25, he was at -9 as far as range, outs above average. He was in the fourth.
He was percentile. The fourth percentile, and this year in 2026,
he's in the 99th.
He's in the 99th percentile.
Before this year, he had never in his career had never been above the 5th percentile.
Well, first percentile, 12th percentile,
12th, sorry.
10th percentile. Then it goes to a 11th percentile.
12 in 2020.
First percentile. 2024, first percentile. 2025 jumps to 4th. And then this year, through the first couple months of the season, 99th percentile and outs above average.
He's having a Brady Anderson season with the glove is what he's having.
I will show you just for the YouTube chat. I'm pretty sure I could do it like this, but it's like, you look at this. Check this out. Can you remove the for me? Check this out. This is all right. Let's start with 2019, and everybody watching on YouTube, I want you to look at the fielding graph on the bottom.
Just the fielding graph on the bottom.
Just watch it. Just watch. Like, I can even do this. Try to zoom in a little bit here. Yeah, look at this. Look at the fielding on this thing. This is from 2019 on.
-13 in 2019 in the first percentile.
Outs above average. Just watch this. This for like case in point of the just what he has been.
2020 is the 12th percentile -3. 21 10th percentile -5. 2022 11th percentile at -5. 23, first percentile minus 14. 2024 minus 12, first percentile. Last year, fourth percentile minus 9. This year, plus 9 in the 99th percentile.
In the 99th percentile. That is just that is an anomaly. It's unbelievable how much that happened. Bat speed still in the first percentile, barrel percentage, hard hit rate. I mean, all that stuff is still super low. But he squares up the ball. I mean, he puts the ball in play. And I think a lot of the problems with Luis Arraez too is that they just continue to put him in the same spot every single day. I think with the way that Craig Stammen kind of manages the lineup a little bit, I think it might be slightly different. I don't think it's going to cost you a lot, but I think that would be really your only place that you can upgrade the offense, because as we talked about in the last hour, if you will, about the 7 teams that could potentially acquire Tarek Skubal, somebody in the comments like, it doesn't improve our offense. How do you, like, why would you make that move? Well, the reality is, and we've talked about this because Tony brought it up last week or 2 weeks ago, was the guys that are struggling are your stars that are going to be in the lineup every single day anyway. And you're not getting rid of those guys, and they're not going to play on the bench, not for how much money they get paid. The only guys that are actually contributing are the ones that are on the bench. It's hard to really upgrade that position. Now, some of those guys have now come back down to earth, but at this point, I think if you're going to improve the offense at all, the only one that you might be able to afford that might slightly improve the offense would be a guy like Luis Arraez, unless you just want to go all in on making a blockbuster deal for a guy like CJ Abrams. That to me is it. And 9 outs above average this season for him defensively, which puts him in the 99th percentile after never being higher than the 12th percentile, is crazy. Hey, you know what? Ron Washington is a pretty good instructor on infield.
Yeah, no kidding.
He got Scott Hatterberg to play first base. You know?
You don't know how to play first base. Scott?
That's right.
It's not that hard, Scott. Tell him, Wash.
It's incredibly hard.
Hey, anything worth doing is.
Do you think that's the conversation that they had? Is that the conversation Luis Arraez had with
Ron Washington actually said that they did have a conversation very similar to that, but it wasn't at it wasn't at Hatterberg's house. It was at a convention or something like that. It was, but
it's funnier at Hatterberg's house.
Yeah, he said though that that more or less was the conversation that happened. It just didn't happen at Hatterberg's house.
Not that hard. Tell him, Wash. It's incredibly hard.
Anything worth doing is.
So again, my biggest argument against Luis Arraez for the longest time was the player that he was in San Diego is not the player that you want on your team for what he does. But the player that he's doing right now, the player that he is right now in San Francisco, is definitely a guy that's worth having on your team. But is he going to go regress back to what he was in San Diego? I mean, now at this point, it's interesting that his 2 worst years were in a Padres uniform where he has had consistent numbers everywhere else. I don't know if that's a cause for concern or not, but in Minnesota, he hit 334, 321, and his worst year in Minnesota was 294. He goes to Miami, he hit 316, 354, and then 299. And then in San Diego, in 117 games, he hit 318 to end 2024, but then in 2025 at 292. And then in 2026, it jumps back up to 321 with the San Francisco Giants. And again, everybody's going like, all those numbers are really good batting average wise. Yes, but if you're not going to slug and you're not going to get on base because you don't walk, you kind of have to evaluate everything on a batting average. And to me, the player that you would want with that is somebody that hits over 300. And if he's not going to hit over 300, then it doesn't really help you at all for a player like Luis Arraez, especially a guy that's not great defensively. But you know what? Luis Arraez has been great defensively so far. So I think it's an interesting topic of conversation. We'll see what the Giants decide to do closer to the deadline. We'll see if the Padres are interested. They were interested enough to potentially, according to rumors, offer him a contract during the offseason. And Arraez wanted to play second base. So maybe this is an opportunity now with the Padres. And again, when you were making that decision, you already had Jake Cronenworth under contract for a handful of years, and he was playing second base. So Now, with that spot being open, I think things have changed a little bit, and it changes the situation. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. When we come back, we'll take a look at one player projected to heat up in June around Major League Baseball and the National League per team. Braden Surprenant Show, Setting Number Sports Station 97 through the Fan. We are 63 days away from the MLB trade deadline, and the market is already taking shape, and it might be a problem. Right now, one name is dominating early conversations, Tarik Skubal. If Detroit falls out of contention, it becomes the biggest rental arm on the market, but he's not cheap, and he's not simple. Here's the issue. Too many teams are stuck in the middle. Boston is close to a wild card spot, but struggling. Baltimore, inconsistent, but still alive. Across the American League, there are way more maybe buyers than actual sellers, which creates a dangerous deadline dynamic. Lots of teams wanting to buy, not enough impact players available. So the real question is this: do we get a blockbuster deadline or a quiet one where everyone waits too long and prices never match reality? Major League Baseball season is starting to tilt into the midsummer pressure point where contenders separate from pretenders and front offices begin quietly laying the groundwork for July's trade deadline. We're still 63 days out from August 3rd, but around the league, the conversations are already heating up. And right now, this deadline is shaping up to be less about chaos and more about uncertainty.
Yeah, right now it's all circulating around Tarik Skubal and what the Detroit Tigers plan on doing with him. The biggest storyline forming so far is Tarik Skubal. At the start of the year, Detroit looked like a rising contender, but injuries, inconsistency, and a slide in the standings have shifted the conversation. Now Skubal, who's eligible for free agency after this season, sits at the center of speculation. And what makes the situation even more complex is value. He's not just an ace, he's a short-term rental with elite upside. And that means contenders won't just be bidding prospects. They'll be paying salary too, roughly $11 million for the final stretch of the season. If Skubal is healthy and dominant when he returns, he instantly becomes the type of arm that can swing October. But if Detroit stays out of contention, the question becomes unavoidable. Do they hold him for a qualifying offer return or cash in a massive deadline haul?
Parity is creating this dealer's market problem across the American League specifically, and especially the middle is crowded. Teams like Boston and Baltimore aren't clearly buyers or sellers. They're stuck in that uncomfortable zone where they're close enough to justify staying aggressive, but inconsistent enough to justify selling. Boston, for example, has struggled offensively for weeks, yet is still within reach of a wild card spot. Baltimore has underperformed on the mound, but remains in striking distance. And that's the key issue league-wide. There's too many teams that believe they can still can get in. That means fewer true sellers, and that creates a classic deadline squeeze. Lots of buyers, not enough impact players available, and front offices are already warning this could be a thin market unless more teams collapse in the next month.
Yeah, and also you have aggressive general managers waiting to strike on these moves. Even in a cautious market, there are always a few teams willing to push buttons. Keep an eye on organizations like Philadelphia, Seattle, Atlanta, Los Angeles, and San Diego Padres, clubs with a history of aggressive midseason swings. We've seen this before: blockbuster bullpen moves, star rentals, and prospect-heavy deals that reshape the playoff race overnight. And if this market stays thin, that aggression becomes even more valuable. The teams willing to overpay might be ones that separate themselves come October.
Could we see surprise sellers? One of the more fascinating questions is whether underperforming contenders decide to pivot early. Houston is the most intriguing example. A slow start has raised internal questions about whether a reset is possible, though ownership has historically resisted full teardown moves. But if teams like Houston ever decided to listen on core pieces, the market would explode instantly. And that's the hidden tension here. A few unexpected sellers could completely flip a market that currently feels shallow.
Yeah, and ownership will be deciding who actually buys or sells. At this point in the season, it's not just baseball ops, it's ownership philosophy. We've seen it before. One owner pushes to keep a star, another green lights a tear down, and the entire market shifts. Teams like Tampa Bay, San Diego, and Minnesota all sit in interesting positions. Some are contenders with flexibility. Others have valuable veterans who could bring major returns if made available. And in Minnesota's case specifically, players like Joe Ryan and others could reshape the market if ownership, not necessarily the front office, decide to listen. This is where strategy meets economics and where deadlines truly are won and lost.
Yeah, 2027 labor cloud is quietly influencing decisions too. There's a long-term factor creeping into front office planning the upcoming collective bargaining situation. With uncertainty around the next CBA, some teams may start thinking more conservatively, protecting payroll flexibility in case of disruption or structural changes to the league's economic system. That kind of thinking. The SDCCU fan hotline. It's not Big Bang Banking. It's better. He's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. It's the Braden Surprenant Show. San Diego Summer Sports Station 97.3 The Fan. Did not get to our midday sports standoff today, but this month, if you take me down in some sports trivia, you will be qualified for a chance to win our grand prize, a 2-night stay at Town and Country Resort and a $250 food and beverage credit. Work on your resting vacation face this summer at Town and Country Resort. 3 pools and a 4-story water slide named Twister make Town and Country a family favorite. Rates start at $199 per night exclusively for fan listeners. Visit towncountry.com/thefan to book now. All right. We didn't get a lot of music in terms of the MLB music too many times the last couple of weeks, but we're going to do it twice today. Fire it up, Frank. Let's talk about a player that's going to get hot in the month of June.
Let's do that. So Major League Baseball went through, the writers of MajorLeagueBaseball.com went through and picked out one player from every team that could get hot starting this month. We will focus on the National League since it impacts us more. Do you want to start with the East?
Yeah, let's start with the East and work our way out west.
All right, so for the Atlanta Braves, they figure that Austin Riley is going to get hot. Historically a slow starter who explodes in the summer. A 430 home run season is realistic if he surges. Short that he's not a shortstop though.
No, he's not. But Austin Riley, I could see that. I mean, a lot of these guys are the typical slow starters, if you will. And Austin Riley this season, got off to a slower start. I think he's starting to really turn it around now. But the Braves are being able to do things despite Austin Riley.
Yeah, exactly.
He's hitting 209 right now.
Jeez. For the Miami Marlins, outfielder Kyle Stowers is the one that's the predicted one here. The 2025 All-Star battling post-hamstring swing issues. Barrel rate dropped dramatically by 12.5 points. Miami desperately needs his power. Last year, he had 25 homers and 73 RBIs.
Yeah, he hit 288 last year with a 912 OPS. Right now, he's off to a 221 start, a 680 OPS. The kid from Christian High School here in San Diego. Marlins could use him to battle back because he was one of those guys that floated out the idea that maybe the Padres should add him. It'd be cool to have him during the trade deadline to add to the outfield. But yeah, I think it's a good candidate for a breakout. How about the Mets with their $126 million contract signing infielder?
Yeah, Bo Bichette is the one. It's not $126 million. He's got opt-outs. Don't scare me too much. Numbers remain poor through May, showing late month signs of life. 3 home runs over 2 games. Hitting in front of Juan Soto now could spark him.
He's hitting 216. I mean, how bad has he looked? He's got a 64 OPS plus. He can't possibly get worse.
He has not looked good. For the Washington Nationals, Dylan Cruz, the 2023 second overall pick optioned in spring, called up on May 19th, slashing just 220 with a 256 and 317. Nats want him to relax and play back to his LSU strengths.
He looked pretty decent against the Padres over the weekend. So I could see him starting to move forward a little bit for the Nationals. Nationals got a good young core. Whether or not they're going to trade any of them away will remain to be seen because they continue to not keep some of these guys for some reason.
The Philadelphia Phillies have Trey Turner dropped from the leadoff spot, responded with back-to-back home runs. Still far from his 2025 batting title form. Phillies offense clicks best when he is on base and ahead of Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah, he was struggling to start the year. His overall numbers are still not very good, but if you look at his game logs in the last couple of weeks, I mean, he's starting to really turn it around. Just like the Phillies in general were starting to turn around. I mean, if you look at his, last couple of games starting in San Diego, his last 5, done pretty well for himself, starting to turn things into the positive direction, especially with the long ball. A couple of home runs against San Diego, had a couple of hits against the Dodgers as well. It's had some big slumps. I still don't think that contract is going to work out for the Phillies long term, but he looks like he's starting to come out of his slumber. Hopefully it's after the Padres leave town.
We'll switch down to the National League Central. The Milwaukee Brewers right fielder Sal Frelick is the prediction. Manager Pat Murphy's favorite, hard-nosed defensive standout. Negative B-WAR this season, OPS under 600. Murphy publicly affirmed his love and support for the right fielder.
The recurring theme for all these guys is just awful starts to the season.
Yeah.
I mean, just real awful starts to the season. So there's only a matter of time before they start putting this together. The fact that the manager is saying a lot of good things about Sal Frelick, I think tells you that he should be due for a bounce back in June. Yeah, these are the months where the hitters start to really they trend with the weather, if you will. They start to get hot right when the weather starts to get hot.
For the St. Louis Cardinals, their prediction is third baseman Nolan Gorman, power hitter in a platoon after poor production, 30.2% strikeout rate, a .211 batting average, same versus righties. Needs to regain 2023 form where he had 27 home runs and a 116 OPS plus.
Yeah, he's been struggling, but I don't think it's getting any better. I think that's kind of a desperate move to or play to like, oh, maybe he could get better. But his last 11 games, he's hitting .061 with a 199 OPS. It's been
good.
Tough sledding for Nolan Gorman. No, yeah, it's not great.
For the Chicago Cubs, center fielder Pete Crow Armstrong, dramatic drop off from near MVP pace last year, now hitting 223 with a 237. Where did I get 223 from? 237 with a 327 and a 391, 7 home runs, 12 solo bases. His energy and defense multiply when he is hitting better.
Yeah, since he had that spat with the White Sox fan on the south side, he's hitting 235 with a 777 OPS. He's been kind of disappointing this year. He did pretty decent in the WBC, but got off to a slow start, hasn't really put it together. I will say this, though. In his last 6 games, he's hitting 346 with a 1010 OPS. I think Pete Crow Armstrong's going to have a pretty big June.
Pittsburgh Pirates selection is the catcher Henry Davis, former number 1 pick, just hitting a .134 with a 230. Slight May improvements, had 4 home runs. Offense is surprisingly good despite his start.
Yeah, you can only go up when you're hitting a 139, right? I mean, he can't possibly be worse. I mean, he has 4 hits in his last 11 games. And there's just one. He was 1 for 3 against the Giants, 1 for 3 again against the Cardinals, 1 for 3 against the Cubs. I mean, just so many days with just zeros on the list. I mean, if you look at his month of May, it was awful. I mean, his last 12 games, he has 4 hits and he's hitting 105. I don't think that's getting improved anytime soon.
Finish the rest of this on the other side or turn and burn?
Yeah, we'll go to the other side.
All right.
We'll talk about the National League West and the Reds in terms of best players in the month of June. We'll get you ready for Padres and Phillies when we return on the Braden Surprenant Show, San Diego Sports Station 97 to the Fan. 140 on the fan. Final segment of the Braden Surprenant Show for leading to Gwynn and Chris. A short Gwynn and Chris today as the EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show with Sam Levitt will start at 2:40 Pacific time. Padres and Phillies, first pitch, 3:40. All right. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. We are talking about a couple of players that are likely to have a big June. We were with the National League Central. We'll get to the one for the National League Central before we finish the National League West, and then get you a preview of Padres and Phillies here in a second. Buy or sell whether or not these guys will have a comeback in June or a bounce back in June. Take it away, Frank.
All right, so the team we did not get to was from the Cincinnati Reds out in the Central. Second baseman Matt McClain is the prediction. Excellent spring, brutal regular season. 0 for 19 skid recently. Has bounced around the lineup. His elite defense is what is keeping him in said lineup.
They just brought up a prospect too, an Arroyo that already flashed the leather pretty well, that plays his position. So obviously the Reds are not going to be very patient with him. Matt McClain did have a double yesterday in the loss against the Kansas City Royals. But as you mentioned, it's been a tough stretch. His last 12 games, he's hitting just 100 with a 313 OPS. If you look the entire month of May to see if there's any improvement, 181 average with a 590 OPS. He has really been struggling, and it's not really getting any better. I think this is another candidate of they're hoping he turned things around. But he watched his average drop from a 203 at the beginning of the month to a 196 in the month of May. It hasn't been higher than 235 all season. I don't really think I don't think June's going to be a different turnaround for Matt McClain.
As we head to the National League West, folks in chat, tell us who you think MLB's prediction is for the Padres. That'll be fun. Starting with the Arizona Diamondbacks shortstop Geraldo Perdomo, 2025 MVP candidate. Had a 7B WAR, 20 home runs, 100 RBIs. Early this year, he has struggled, but recently he has shown signs of kicking out.
Yeah, he has shown signs of kicking out. I mean, he went through a stretch this past week. Now, the last couple of games, he has been over, but he did go through a stretch against Colorado and San Francisco and in Seattle where he hit 320 with an 801 OPS. I think it's really starting to heat up for Geraldo Perdomo. He's too talented of a player to be as bad as he has been so far this year. And again, it's not just us dealing with these problems. Every team is dealing with this. I mean, I'm sure Arizona Diamondbacks fans are wondering when Geraldo Perdomo is going to turn it around. I think he's about to break through in the month of June.
The Dodgers' prediction is Mookie Betts, oblique injury, limited early play, inconsistent since his May 11th return. He's dropped down the lineup, chasing MVP form after a poor 2025.
I honestly can't believe he's hitting 196 on the year. You know, I know he's missed some time, but I can't believe it. And like I said about Perdomo, he's too good of a player to be down for as long as he has been. You look at his kind of recency. He's hitting 258 now over his last 8 games, which is an improvement of where he's at. I think June will be a turnaround. If it's not June, it's going to be a little bit later, like in July, just because he's only played in 26 games this year. So with that being said, I think it's going to take him a little bit more to get moving, but Mookie Betts is going to stay down forever.
For the San Francisco Giants, third baseman Matt Chapman is the prediction. Veteran expected to anchor the lineup at only 1 home run in 55 games thus far, dragging down a weak Giants offense. Speaking of which, isn't it funny what context does?
I love it.
Matt Chapman only has 1 home run in 55 games. Fernando finally hit a home run for the first time in 55 games.
I'm not a huge believer in Matt Chapman, and maybe it's because I'm biased because I didn't like the way he handled the whole Casey Schmidt situation. But he's starting to hit the ball a lot better than he was the beginning part of the year. In his last 15 games, he's hit 286 with an 839 OPS. He did hit that 1 home run, or did hit 1 home run during that stretch. 7 RBIs. Has only struck out 9 times to 8 walks. I think he's starting to play a lot better. Unfortunately for the Giants, it doesn't really matter because they continue to lose. They got swept by Arizona, lost 2 out of 3 to the Rockies, got smoked yesterday 16-2 to the Milwaukee Brewers. It's going from bad to worse in San Francisco.
To Colorado, shortstop, Eazy-E, Ezekiel Tovar. Hot finish to May, multiple home runs and a walk-off, improving patience and high fastball recognition after a sub-200 stretch.
I remember Bud Black talking about this kid when he first came up, when we went into his manager's office here at Petco Park when they were in town. And it was right around the time that like him and Anthony Volpe were coming up. Mm-hmm. They were in the same minor league, whatever it was in Triple, whatever the Rockies affiliates were at the lower level. And
Albuquerque, the Isotopes in Triple.
I think it was. I think he was talking about the Double A. I don't know if he played Triple A with them or not. I have to. But they were for a little bit of time were in the same league at some point in their minor league careers. And Bud Black said he outplayed Volpe in every single category, and that was when Volpe was super hot to start his career.
The Hartford Yard Goats.
Like, this guy's going to be legit. He is legit. I mean, I know he's hitting 254 in his career, still a young career. He's off to a slow start, but I like Ezekiel Tovar. I think he's a good player. He's starting to turn things around too. If you look back at his last 11 games, hitting 286 and 835 OPS, I think he's starting to really come to here for the Rockies. So I got Ezekiel Tovar having a good month of June.
For the San Diego Padres, finally, Fernando Tatis Jr. is the prediction. First home run came late Saturday. Struggles are glaring despite Merrill and Machado also being poor. When Tatis rolls, the Padres offense rolls, which is interesting because our saying here is as Manny goes, the team goes.
Right. Manny and Fernando are both kind of like near that spot. They've had different timing for leading the offense. But I think Fernando, it feels a lot better because he finally got a home run.
Yeah.
But going into the last game,
he's also hitting a lot more now recently.
Yeah. If you look at his last 12 games that he played, I mean, or the 12 games leading into the game on Sunday where he went 0-for, but he had a hitting streak going over 12 games. He had a 12-game hitting streak. During the 12-game hitting streak for Fernando, he hit 404 with a 961 OPS. A double, a home run, 3 RBIs, 4 stolen bases, 5 walks, only struck out 7 times. Like, he's starting to really heat up. I mean, you want to factor in the game on Sunday too? All right, it cuts his batting average down to 373 with an 890 OPS. But Fernando has been starting to heat up throughout these last couple of weeks, and I think he's really gonna take to June. And isn't June like his best month? Isn't that like usually his best month?
Historically, yeah.
Historically. I mean, I could look up the career splits, but I think this is like he's hitting at the right time. And the Padres are going to need Fernando to do that with the month of June that they have going into the first couple of weeks of July before the All-Star break. But today to the All-Star break marks the toughest stretch of the Padres season. And they got to survive these next couple of weeks. And it would be great if they could get more than just one star at a time to perform. Right now, Fernando is the one performing, but they got to get some more out of Xander Bogaerts. They got to get anything out of Manny Machado. He's not giving you anything right now. And you got to get something out of Jackson Merrill. To go back to that conversation about Fernando, in the month of June in his career, he has hit 316 with a 989 OPS. That's the best by far. So maybe that continues today. Bold prediction time. Tonight's game, Padres and Phillies. Jace Bowen getting the start today in left field and batting 7th. Fernando will play right field today, and he bats leadoff for the San Diego Padres. They're going against Aaron Nola. Randy Vasquez will be the starting pitcher for the Padres coming up at 3:40. Bold prediction of the day for you, Frank.
Jace Bowen, 2 for 4 with a double.
Wow. Going with the Jace Bowen big day. I was going to say Jace Bowen, it's a bomb. I know it's hard to ask. Philly's a bandbox of a place. I just, Aaron Nola has not been good this season. It just has the making of this being a kind of a big deal.
It has been happening a lot recently, too, where guys are coming up, getting their first major league hit as a home run. So it's not that far off, especially since it's seeming like it's becoming a trend in baseball now.
Yeah, I mean, it's set up to be that way, right? I mean, shoot, Manny should have had 2 home runs at Citizens Bank Park last week against Christopher Sanchez.
The second one would not have gone. The first one would have, for sure.
I mean, he just missed those at Petco Park. They're not even close, but at Citizens Bank Park, they're gone, So I think I'm going to go with that one. I'm going to go with the Jace Bowen home run. Not necessarily, just sometime today. Maybe he hits one.
I'll go 2 for 4 with a double.
I'll even say this. He goes 1 for 4, 3 strikeouts and a homer.
That's about right.
He strikes out a ton. He strikes out a ton, but he hits the ball over the fence. He's been hitting absolute moonshots. And when you're hot, you're hot. And, they're not going to know how to attack him. They don't have the scouting report. I mean, they're going to
for today.
They're going to test him on the fastball. They're going to see if he can hit a fastball. And if he squares one up, it's gone at Citizens Bank Park.
B. Wilson saying Castellanos with a pinch hit homer.
That'd be sweet. Especially like the 8th inning when the Phillies could potentially bring the starter in and go with the setup guy their closer, and they come up with the setup guy instead, and he gives up a bomb.
While we still have a minute left?
No.
Okay.
Not really. Yeah, I think that's my bold prediction too. Oh, we don't. You know what? We don't have to have a cliche Fernando bold prediction home run anymore.
No,
now it's on the table. Now you could say Fernando get a home run.
We were right. We were right on that, as we are right on everything.
Right, but too early. I went to the deli stop the other day.
Yes.
In PQ. I've gone there a couple of times now. And the last time I went, the guy that was there realized it was us. And he got excited. And he was very super nice. It was super cool. And the deli stop's a great place. But he gives us the sandwiches and he goes, "Love the show. Right, but too early." That's what he dropped. I thought that was hilarious. That was awesome.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. He's like, "See, look, Fernando's turning around," because it was the same day that he hit the bomb. So, yeah, right, but too early. Most of the time. Not all the time. There's a lot of times we're wrong, too. It happens. But I like the right, but too early conversation better. Guacamole bacon burger at the deli stop was lit. I haven't had their burgers yet. I had a triple play, and I had the hot Italian.
Clay, we just saw you in the chat. How you doing after yesterday?
Aaron Donald may be coming back. He says he thought about it when Pat McAfee texted him. Anyway, he's Frank Marchese. I'm Braden Surprenant. Enjoyed the show today. We'll be back tomorrow to talk Padres and Phillies. 3:40 start time today for the Padres game. Ecowater SoCal Padres pregame show with Sam Levitt at 2:40. But coming up next, Gwynn and Chris, Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Sello, Matt Scraby. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.